we all have a favorite creepypasta? I'll start with mine. Mine is Ben Drowned. I actually have that on this list. I don't know if I'll get to it. That's kind of a last resort if we end up needing more time to read some creepypastas. I also have media shares open, so there's a pinned message in the chat if you would like to add to the media share queue. You can add some creepy music for that ambiance. Smile Dog, obligatorily, because it's about a dog. I actually never read the Smile Dog creepypasta. Is it any good? I do like the picture, the original picture, more than the heavily edited one. No, it's not. That's the charm of most creepypastas, is they're not good. They're not good. A lot of them aren't. There was one we read last time that I really liked, and that was that normal porn for normal people. And I mostly liked that because it was very believable to me. Like, that sounded like a website that would exist. Most spooky images, like Jeff the Killer and Smile Dog, and the Rake, they have some sort of creepypasta associated with them. Like Slenderman, the Slenderman photo. That started with a creepy edited photo. It's like the only good one. I'm sure we'll find some gems today because I specifically asked for ones that are good. Now, I can guarantee you there are going to be ones that are bad in this list because I added some that I remember really liking. And they're probably not good anymore. And one of the ones I added was Lost Silver. I don't know why I liked that one. I really don't. Because there's actually a game you can play. So I played it and I was laughing the entire time. I'm dead. Leave! Hurry! Ah! It's stupid. It's so dumb. It's really dumb. Alright. Okay. So what are we gonna start with, chat? Let's start with the furthest tab in my group right now. My last fishing trip. Let's see. Deleted video, cool. This was recommended by Proxy, and I trust Proxy's judgment. I believe it's gonna be good. Is this also? Brother, why are so many of my creepypasta songs deleted? Let me take a sip before I start reading. Okay. This is one I haven't read. Called My Last Fishing Trip. Recommended by Proxy. This has officially been the worst fishing trip of all time. I've been on a lot of fishing trips, but this one may just be my last. Oh! Thank you for returning the loaf. The loaf doesn't actually appear in this scene. I could set that up, but that would take a lot of work right now, but I appreciate it. I've been on a lot of fishing trips, but this one may just be my last. No. This one is definitely my last. I've been stuck on this boat for 3 days now. I'm trying to keep my composure. But at this point, I might as well cut my losses. Even if help did come, I doubt they would be able to save me from this. Let me explain. 3 days ago, my 4 friends and I came out here off the Gulf of Mexico to fish. My friends' names were Frederick, Joseph, Alex, and Miguel. We all loved fishing with an intense passion. In fact, when we weren't busy with anything else, we would be found fishing. We had been to almost every pond, every river, and every lake. However, for the first time, we were going for a bigger challenge. We came here to the Gulf to catch ocean fish. That's a typo. We had never gone to the ocean before, but with our love of fishing, we were all on board. No pun intended. That brings us to now. Well, that brings us to 3 days ago. Everything started off fine. We caught a few fish, had a few beers, and shared a few laughs. We were pretty much 5 drunken idiots having a good time on the ocean. It was all fun and games until things became strange. Later that day, we were about ready to pack up. Later that day, as we were about ready to pack up and sail back to land, we all became tense. It felt like we weren't alone. It felt like there was something near us, but we didn't know what. Miguel brought it to our attention that there was an unnatural movement of the water. He was right. The water was making waves. These weren't the natural waves that water typically makes. These looked as though they were being made by something moving within the water. It couldn't have been us, as these waves were coming toward us. At that point, we were ready to get the hell out of there. Frederick went to the sonar of the boat. He became troubled when he could see there was something on the sonar about 1,200 meters away. Also, let me, Alright. I'm going to trust that that's gonna be spooky. I had to accept the media share. There you go. At that point, we were ready to get the hell out of there. Frederick went to the sonar of the boat. He became troubled when he could see there was something on the sonar about 1,200 meters away, but it was moving closer. I didn't know a thing about reading sonar, but from what I could tell, whatever was out there was big. Big isn't even good enough word to describe it. Whatever it was gargantuan. Alex panicked. He pushed Frederick and I out of the way, and desperately tried to crank up the boat. It was dead. How could that be possible? That's when Alex told us that there appeared to gas floating away from our boat. Okay. It was obvious what was going on. Somehow the boat had a massive leak, and we were too drunk to notice. We were stuck in the middle of the ocean, with something approaching. We all decided to go inside and take shelter until help came. We were hoping that would be soon. About 30 minutes later, we felt a light thud against the boat. Frederick looked at the sonar once again. Whatever it was right under us. Joseph ran outside and quickly panned around the boat. We all followed behind him and did the same thing. All that was seen was an absolutely massive silhouette. I cannot exactly describe what it was, but the silhouette's shape was all types of wrong. I could distinctly tell that it had fins. That's literally all I was able to distinguish. Everything else about this creature was unable to be named. There we go. None of us were able to identify what this thing was. Frederick began to panic as the creature circled around the boat. He ran back inside and desperately tried to crank up the boat, but to no avail. Now, this is where things really took a turn for the worst. This thing circled the boat both day and night. We slept inside the boat that night. Unfortunately, when we woke up the next day, Alex was gone. There was a trail of water leading from where Alex had fallen asleep to the edge of the boat. It was pretty clear that Alex had been taken. That thing took Alex. Frederick became absolutely livid. He began taking the equipment, thank you for the follow, and throwing it at the beast. Joseph screamed for him not to get too close, but it was too late. A large tentacle submerged from the depths. You used that word wrong. And wrapped itself around Frederick. We all jumped up and ran to Frederick's aid. I managed to grab hold of Frederick's ankle. Now we were in a desperate tug of war with the beast. Frederick frantically screamed. I held on to him with all my might. Miguel and Joseph were stabbing the tentacle with their pocket knives. It didn't seem to faze it. With one more mighty pull, the creature pulled Frederick from my grasp. We all fell to the ground. Miguel proceeded to vomit when he saw that Frederick's lower leg was still in my arms. I threw the leg away from me and vomited as well. At work, but I'll be around. I shall give you my eldritch bird bite of good luck. Wow! Thanks! That night, not one of us got a wink of sleep. I think Miguel had started to go mad. Since we were out of beer, we were all becoming extremely dehydrated in the daytime heat. I don't know if beer is a good source of hydration. I think Miguel was managing to sneak a few gulps of seawater when he had the chance. I could tell he was becoming sick. He would spend half the time vomiting and the other half rambling about nonsensical things. Joseph and I became concerned being around him at this point. Then there was earlier today. Miguel unexpectedly pulled his knife on Joseph and stabbed him in the abdomen. Joseph fell to the deck. I pushed Miguel so hard that he fell overboard. He screamed and thrashed in the water for about a minute before I heard the sound of him being pulled under the water. Then there was silence. There was complete and utter silence. Here we are now. Entertainers. No. Here we are now. How did things escalate so quickly? Joseph bled out a few hours ago. All I could do was watch him die as there was no first aid kit. Why? Why didn't you have a first aid? Come on. Frederick threw the first aid kit as well. Oh, that's why. I feel like most of this could have been avoided if we were smarter in a crisis. But we're not. We weren't. It's been 3 days. I'm stuck on this boat with no food or water. I'm beginning to have disturbing thoughts. I'm thinking about eating Joseph's carcass. Thinking about throwing myself off the deck. This thing is still circling the boat. I don't think it intends to leave anytime soon. I don't think it's going to leave until I give in as its prey. With that being said, I don't think I'll be going fishing again anytime soon. If anyone out there ever decides to go fishing, don't be stupid. Be prepared for whatever may come. I'm as good as dead. This trip is, without a doubt, the worst fishing trip I will ever go on. To be honest, I think this is my last fishing trip. Well, no shit, dude. I'll most likely be dead. All this time, we were out here hunting for a meal. We never thought the table could turn so quickly. I'm going to try to last for as long as I can. There's no food. There's no water. Yes. This is definitely the worst fishing trip of all time. This is definitely my last fishing trip. Dun dun dun! That was my last fishing trip. Okay. Legit criticism of this story, but this is just a pet peeve of mine. It drives me crazy when a story is, I may be dead soon, so I'm going to write a 3-page essay. If you find this, I'm dead. It drives me crazy. Who has the fucking time? Who has the fucking time to sit there and write that much when they are about to die? Fuck, dude. That's pretty good, though. It was written pretty well. I don't mind it. Like, I don't mind the whole, like, if you're reading this, I'm already dead. That's fine. Like, look at the letter from Mary in Silent Hill 2. That makes sense, because she was, like, she was about to die, and so she was writing, basically, like, her farewell, and, like, okay, when I die, my nurse is going to give this to you. That's fine. That's fine. But, like, when you are in a life or death situation, a monster is stalking you, why the fuck would you sit there and type out or write out? Like, there are some stories that go, like, I'm typing this out all on my phone. Where are all the fucking typos? There were typos in that story, but, like, if I'm typing something out on my phone, autocorrect's going to massacre that shit. Like, scrawls notes while actively bleeding out on the floor. Yeah, I can sort of believe this last fishing trip, because, like, what else are you gonna do? You're starving, you're thirsty. If you have paper laying around, if you have a laptop that's fully charged, sure, maybe. Like, you have nothing to do. This giant monster in the water is stalking you. What the fuck else are you gonna do? You're just gonna write about how all your friends are dying. I don't know. I don't know. If you're dying, I would hope your first thought isn't write a novel just in case they find me. Yeah, and like, how would anybody find this? This boat is probably going to get crushed by the tentacles of this monster. I guess it leaves things to your imagination. Like, what are you thinking of? What are you thinking of? Like, what? How did they find these notes? How did this person write them? Did they post them on the internet with their really strong signal to their boat in the middle of the ocean? Like, did they get their laptop recovered, or was the paper recovered? Did they laminate their sheets before they went under? I don't know. If it was a stream of consciousness video or audio log, it'd make more sense. Yeah, I'd understand that. I feel like the writing, if it were stream of consciousness, it would be very different. There would be a lot more stumbling over words, but they, like, I don't know, if you transcribe that, you probably wouldn't include stumbling over words and such. Who knows? If you can justify on a narrative level why they'd write all this down or are able to, it would make sense. Avoidable tropes are avoidable. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Alright, let's move on to another one. Let's do a bad one. This one was recommended by Queen Snarf, or at least mentioned by Queen Snarf, as this is one that freaked them out when they were a kid, but this is most definitely a bad one. This is Squidward's suicide. Also known as Red Mist. I did read this one. I have read this one. Okay. Is it any good? I doubt it. I don't think so. Not this monstrosity? Alright, we're in this together, folks. We're in this together. I just want to start off by saying that if you want an answer at the end, prepare to be disappointed. There isn't one. Alright, we're gonna be disappointed. Strap in, folks. I was an intern at Nickelodeon Studios for a year in 2005 for my degree in animation. It wasn't paid, of course. Most internships aren't. But it did have a perk beyond education. To adults, it might not seem like a big one, but most kids at the time would go crazy over it. Since I worked directly with the editors and animators, I got to view new episodes days before they aired. So far, this is fairly believable. It's always a good start when the story starts with the narrative telling you to expect disappointment. Oh yeah. I'll get right to it without giving too many unnecessary details. They had very recently made the SpongeBob movie. That's true. That lines up. The entire staff was somewhat sapped of creativity, so it took them longer to start up the season. Okay, now we're getting less believable, because I'm pretty sure they had a different team work on the movie than the show, and I think they have different groups of people work on each episode. Anyway, I digress. The entire staff was somewhat sapped of creativity, blah blah blah, but the delay lasted longer for more upsetting reasons. There was a problem with the Series 4 premiere that set everyone and everything back several months. Me and 2 other interns were in the editing room, along with the lead animators and sound editors, for the final cut of an episode. We received the copy that was supposed to be Fear of a Krabby Patty, and gathered around the screen to watch. Now, okay, I stopped watching SpongeBob after I watched the movie because I didn't like the movie, and I feel like all the SpongeBob episodes after the movie were garbage, personally. So I don't know if that's an actual episode. That's a real episode? Cool. Confirmed. Now, given that the final cut isn't final yet, animators often put a mock up. Let's try that again. I can't read, guys. Animators often put up a mock title card at the beginning. It's sort of an inside joke for us, with phony, oftentimes lewd titles being used, such as How Sex Doesn't Work instead of Rockabye Bevolve, in which SpongeBob and Patrick adopt a sea scallop. Nothing particularly funny, just work-related chuckles. That makes sense to me. I I have family members who have known a lot of animators or worked in like departments that were associated with like animation studios. Uh, Animators do shit like that. So that is I do know that episode. That's a good episode. So that checks out. So when we saw the title card Squidward's Suicide, we didn't think it was more than a morbid joke. One of the other interns did a small throat laugh at it. Okay. The episode started with the happy-go-lucky music playing as normal. The story began with Squidward practicing his clarinet, hitting a few sour notes like normal. We hear SpongeBob laughing outside. Squidward stops, yelling at him to keep it down, as he has a concert that night and needs practice. SpongeBob says okay, and goes to see Sandy with Patrick. Checks out. I'm sorry I'm, like, talking about the validity of this, but a big part of creepypastas to me is how believable is it? SpongeBob, fuck off! Okay. The bubble splash screen comes up, and we see the ending of Squidward's concert. This is when things began to seem off. While playing, a few frames repeat themselves, but the sound doesn't. It's supposed to be synced with the animation, so yes, that's not common. But when Squidward stops playing, the sound finishes, as if the skip never happened. There is slight murmuring in the crowd before they begin to boo him. Not the normal cartoon booing that's common in the show, mind you. You could very clearly hear malice in it. Squidward's in full frame and looks visibly afraid. The shot goes to the crowd, with SpongeBob in center frame. He too is booing, which is very much unlike him. That isn't the oddest thing, though. What's odd is that everyone has What's odd is that everyone has hyper-realistic eyes. All very detailed. Clearly not shots of real people's eyes, but something a bit more real than CGI. The pupils were red. Some of us looked at each other, obviously confused, but since we weren't the writers, we didn't question its appeal to children yet. So SpongeBob had this like trope that it would do a lot where there would be frames of like hyper-realistic paintings. And so I can still believe that, honestly. There were a lot of really uncanny valley shots in SpongeBob that actually kind of freaked me out. The painted still frames, exactly. Oh, the one that freaked me out the most was that Krabby Patty episode where Squidward tried a Krabby Patty and he like reached his lips out to like bite a very small bite. Oh, that grossed me out so much as a kid. The shot goes to Squidward, sitting on the edge of his bed, looking very forlorn. The view out of his porthole window is of a night sky, so it isn't very long after the concert. The unsettling part is that at this point, there's no sound. Literally zero sound. Not even the feedback from the speakers in the room. It's as if the speakers were turned off, though their statuses showed them working perfectly. Squidward just sits there in this silence, blinking for about 30 seconds, then starts to sob softly. He puts his hands, tentacles, over his eyes and cries quietly for a full minute more. All the while, a sound in the background is very gradually growing from nothing to barely audible. It sounds like a slight breeze through a forest. The screen slowly begins to zoom in on his face. By slowly, I mean that it's only noticeable if you look at shots 10 seconds apart, side by side. His sobbing gets louder and more full of hurt and anger. The screen that twitches a bit, as if it twists in on itself for a split second, before going back to normal. The wind through the trees sound gets louder and more severe, as if a storm is brewing somewhere. The eerie part is that the sound, and Squidward sobbing, sounded real. It was like it wasn't coming from the speakers, but that the speakers themselves were holes that the sound was traveling through from the other side. Yeah, that's what speakers are. As good a sound as the studio likes to have, they don't have the equipment to be able to produce audio of that quality. Below the sound of the wind and sobbing, very faintly audible, something sounded like laughing. It came at odd intervals and never lasted more than a second, so you had a hard time pinning it, We watched this episode twice, so pardon me if things sound too specific, but I've had time to think about them. After 30 seconds of this, the screen blurred and twitched violently and something flashed over it, as if a single frame was replaced. The lead animation editor paused and rewound frame by frame. What we saw was horrible. It was a still photo of a dead child! He couldn't have been more than 6. His face was mangled and bloodied. One eye dangling over it popped. Oh no. He was naked, down to his underwear, his stomach crudely cut open and his entrails splayed out beside him. He was laying on some pavement that was probably a road. The most upsetting part was that there was a shadow of the photographer, but no crime tape, evidence tags, or markers, and the angle was completely off for a shot designed to be evidence. It would seem they were the person responsible for the child's death. We were, of course, mortified, but pressed on, hoping that this was just a sick joke. Oh, shock horror. The screen flipped back to Squidward, still sobbing louder than before, half of his body in the frame. There was now what appeared to be blood running down his face from his eyes. Oh no. The blood was also done in a hyper-realistic style, looking as if you'd get it on your fingers if you touched the screen. The wind sounded now as if it were that of a gale blowing through the forest. There were even snapping sounds, like of branches. Oh, awesome. The laughing, a deep baritone, lasted for longer intervals and came more frequently. After about 20 seconds, the screen again twisted and showed a single frame photo. The editor was reluctant to go back. We all were, but he knew he had to. This time, the photo appeared to be of a little girl no older than the first child. She was laying on her stomach, her barrettes in a pool of blood next to her. Her left eye was damaged in the same way as the boy. She was naked except for underpants. Her entrails were piled on top of her, above another crude cut along her back. Again, the body was on the street and the photographer's shadow was visible, very similar in size and shape to the first. I had to choke back vomit, and one intern, the only female in the room, ran out. The show resumed. I don't remember this part with the shock horror. I don't remember that part. Ugh. About 5 seconds after this second photo played, also hello Scar Maestra, Squidward went silent. All sound cut out, like it did when the scene started. He put his tentacles down and his eyes were now done in hyperrealism like the others. Oh no, we're at the beginning of the episode. They were bleeding, bloodshot, and pulsating. He just stared at the screen as if watching the viewer. After about 10 seconds, he started sobbing, this time not covering his eyes. The sound was piercing and loud. The most fear-inducing thing of all was that his sobbing was mixed with screams. Tears and blood were dripping down his face at a heavy rate. The wind sound came back, and so did the deep-voiced laughing, this time with a still photo that lasted for a good 5 frames. The animator was about to stop it on the 4th and backed up. This time the photo was of a boy about the same age, but the scene was different. His entrails were being pulled out from his stomach wound by a large hand, the right eye popped and dangling, blood trickling down it. The animator proceeded. The next frame was different, but he couldn't tell how. He continued to the next image, and it was the same thing. He then went back to the first and played them quicker, and I lost it. I vomited on the floor, the animation and sound editors gasping at the screen. The 5 frames were not 5 different photos, they were frames from a video. We saw the hand slowly lift out the guts, we saw the kid's eyes focus on it, and we even saw 2 frames of the kid beginning to blink. The lead sound editor told us to stop. He had to call in the creator to see this. Mr. Hillenberg arrived within about 15 minutes. He's gonna be like, "Oh, that's what it was meant to be." Oh yeah. He was confused as to why he had been called down, so the editor just continued the episode. Once the next few frames were shown, all screaming and sound again stopped. Squidward was just staring at the viewer, his face taking up the full frame for about 3 seconds. The shot quickly panned out. That deep voice said, "Do it!" and we saw a shot cut in Squidward's hands. Oh, he immediately puts the gun in his mouth. Splash Zone. We're reading Squidward Suicide. Oh, you guys came in at a wonderful time. How was your stream? How was Banjo-Kazooie? What an interesting time to come in. Yeah, we're in the middle of Squidward Suicide, and it's just reached the moment where somebody's like, do it! Fair warning for, that. There's a lot of deleted videos in this playlist. But thank you for the raid. Welcome in. Squidward's about to shoot himself. Haha. Banjo randomizer, hard as hell but fun. That sounds hard as hell. I've never actually played Banjo, but I want to. I played a little bit, and it was really cute and charming. Now this story is a little fucked and funny because it's over the top, but thanks! Thanks! I love my new model too. It's so bouncy. So bouncy. Okay. Where were we? Okay, so Squidward immediately puts the gun in his mouth and pulls the trigger. Oh, realistic blood! Yeah, there it is! And brain matter splatters the wall behind him and his bed, and he flies back with force. Oh. The last 5 seconds of the episode show his body on the bed on its side, one eye dangling from what's left of his head above the floor, staring blankly at it. Then the episode ends. Mr. Hillenberg was obviously angry at this. Okay. He demanded to know what the hell was going on. Most people left the room at this point, so there were just a handful of us left to watch it again. Viewing the episode twice only served to imprint the entirety of it in my mind and cause me horrible nightmares. I'm sorry I stayed. The only theory we could think of was that the file had been edited by someone in the chain from the drawing studio to here. The CTO was called in to find out when it happened. Analysis of the file did show it was mixed with new material. However, the timestamp of the change was a mere 24 seconds before we began viewing it. All equipment involved was examined for foreign software and hardware as well as glitches, such as if the timestamp was showing us the wrong time, but everything checked out fine. We didn't know what happened, and to this day, nobody does. There was an investigation due to the nature of the photos, but nothing came of it. No child scene was identified, and no clues were gathered from the data involved, nor physical clues from the photos. I never believed in unexplainable phenomena before, but now that I've had something happen to me and can't prove anything about it beyond anecdotal evidence, I think twice about things. The end! What do you guys think happened? Do you believe this story? I think it's real. I like the attempt to be technical, but it just kind of falls flat. You know, okay, so actual analysis of this. I do like, there's a lot of elements to this creepypasta that make it like, okay, that's realistic, that's real. The internship, the animation, like how animators are, yes, 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 got it, got it. Could I believe this? Possibly. Totally happened, yeah, it's real. Could this happen? Could this really happen? Would an animator be so fucked up that they would put, basically crime scene photos, into an episode of SpongeBob? And why the fuck would anybody do that? Would it just be a sick joke? Probably just a sick joke. Literally, probably just a sick joke. If this was actually to happen, it was just somebody with a terrible sense of humor, like, haha, wouldn't it be funny if I put, real gore? Like, just frames of real gore into this episode? There was that Rescue Rangers thing. You're right, yeah, animators are fucked up and weird. They just put, like, to those of you who don't know the Rescue Rangers thing, there's literally a frame of a topless woman in Rescue Rangers in the background of a scene. It's real. It's a real thing. They also hid, in the VHS box of The Little Mermaid, there's totally a penis in the palace. Like, there's a penis shape in there. Also, there is when, Simba in The Lion King, obviously, falls on the ground at one point, The leaves spell sex in the sky. That's real. Animators are fucked up and weird. But I don't think an animator would be this fucked up to put, like, crime scene photos into an episode of SpongeBob for no reason. That seems stupid. That is stupid. They spell SFX? Okay, I stand corrected. I stand corrected. Understandable, understandable thing to, get, convoluted, or get twisted like that. Get it twisted. My writer brain kind of explodes when reading spooky spaghettis, so I'm not one to ask. It's literally one letter off. Sex shit? Yeah. Would get away with it. This, you're getting fired. Yeah. Also, like, just creatives in general, in, like, a team, love to sneak in, like, stupid shit and gross shit. If you've ever watched the YouTuber Oddheader, there's a lot of, like, weird textures you can find in games of naked people, usually women, and just all sorts of dumb shit that people just hide in the files of games. For no reason. Probably as a placeholder. Probably as a placeholder. I don't know. Anyway, that was Squidward's suicide. Honestly, not as bad as I remember. It was okay. Because it's not as unbelievable as you'd think. And probably banned from being close to a school. Yeah. The hot coffee mod. Hot coffee was not a mod. That was in the game. I guess you needed a mod to, you know, see it.
I want to tell a scary story too.
Okay.
I was watching a creature feature with my friend, but then I looked to Miss Friend and realized it was the creature from the feature. And then he rips off my foreskin.
You have foreskin? Well, not anymore. Oh my god. Oh my god. It was literally setting a flag from true to false to enable it. I see. Yeah, so there you go. Hot coffee. Yeah, hot coffee made a GTA, whatever, which one that was, I don't remember, get taken off the shelves for a bit, once people discovered that. Alright. Mario. This one's called Mario. This actually has a ROM hack that is associated with it, and it's recommended to play that first. I did not have the wherewithal to set that up because I would have to get. It's a long process. It's a long process. San Andreas. That's right. Yeah. Okay. So I'm just gonna read the story. Spooky Bing Bing Wahoo Man. This was recommended by Rogue Spike. Okay. The story. So it all happened tonight of all nights. I was bored, obviously contemplating what I thought I could do to waste time as I chatted with the people in SMWC, Super Mario World's community, I assume. We had good times and shared a few laughs together. Out of boredom, I decided to patrol the hacks waiting to be moderated section. Seems that we had quite a bit, 33 if I recall correctly. The first few hacks I saw when I sorted them by date were a couple of really horrible ones with bad screenshots to boot. I naturally showed these hacks to the Centralites. I hope that's probably a bad word, I don't know. Currently on SMWC, we were laughing at how bad some of them were, but then I got to a hack called Mario, all caps. Just that, nothing more, nothing less. The description seemed quite odd, as if some Japanese hacker was trying to translate the original plot of Super Mario World and failing horribly. I showed this to Kieran, and he started laughing at it. It read as follows. As you play the role of Super Mario Plumber, verify that you are beautiful, Purinse Suto Zutoru. Toadstool. Okay. Again, Bowser kidnapped the evil king. It is your job to save her. This hack includes 6 levels of very long. I simply dismiss this as someone trying to act Japanese and release a crappy hack with some edits. That's what I thought it was at first. Curiosity got the best of me. I decided to download the hack. I didn't know what I was in for, since the single screenshot of it was just the title screen with nothing but the letters Mario from Super Mario World's title screen. I thought it was a little odd how there were no dates or anything either, as hackers usually place their names and dates in the titles to mark when the project was started. Let's see if I can put this on. Oh wow, it's so small. Mario! So when I opened the hack, I was greeted by 2 files. One called 37014, a simple text file that was 27 kilobytes in size, and the IPS file, simply named Mario. For some odd reason, I wanted to see what the author of the hack had to say, but when I opened the hack in Notepad, there was nothing but indistinguishable symbols and letters and punctuation. Sort of like how when you open a ROM to a text editor like Notepad. Seems like the author just completely copied his ROM to text form, though I could be wrong. Taking a closer look at the top of the text file mixed in with the gibberish, I found the only thing that looked like English in there. Here's a piece of what I found. I'm gonna post it in chat. Mamma mia! There's the text in chat. Find me, find me, find me, find me. That's the most notable thing in there. To be honest, I didn't know what to make of this. Obviously, you gotta find them. Jeez. I eventually decided it was simply to waste some of my time by making me find some text in the gibberish file. That, I'm willing to bet, no one will ever be able to make sense of. I decided that because my interest was growing steadily, I would start looking through my horribly disorganized download folder for a copy of a clean ROM, which I had downloaded a great deal of time before the events of tonight unfolded, and an IPS patcher. Of course, my choice for the job was Lunar IPS. I like how this is sort of a tutorial on how to patch a ROM. Good heavens. A JPEG header. So, I then proceeded to move the ROM and the IPS patcher to the folder with the hack. I patched the ROM, not knowing what to expect next, and I quickly hurried to drag it to the Z SNES and play what I thought was to be terrible in the form of a ROM image. I noticed on boot up that the author had taken the time to change the header of his hack. Instead of the usual Super Mario World you normally see when booting up a ROM in Z SNES, it just had the letters Mario there again. M-A-R-I-O, if you don't know how to spell Mario. At this point, I gained a little hope, because normally people who do horrible half-assed edits in the ROM generally don't know enough to change a header title. Really? I thought I wasn't wasting my time with this, and my mood brightened slightly at the thought of seeing what the author had to offer in his interesting little hack. The title screen loaded, exactly like it would with Super Mario World, except it had just M-A-R-I-O on the title like I had mentioned earlier. Something else had grabbed my interest, more so than the unusual absence of Layer 3 tiles on the title screen. Mario's normal, bright-colored and happy palette seemed, how can I put it, dull. What was once violet-like red now seemed like gray with a slight red tint to it, and I'm fairly sure his pants were looking more gray than blue, too. I thought this was strange, and I wondered why he had decided to give Mario such a dull palette. Okay, this is incredibly important. I need to share the caption. No. There we go. I really need to share the caption. Him. 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 Regardless as to what his intentions were, I felt that something was wrong. Not in the sense that the palette was slightly bad, but that the hack was empty. Why'd you say that so high? Like something had happened. Upon pressing start and selecting a new file, like a lot of other countless Mario hacks I have played in the past, there was some sort of intro screen that basically described the entirety of the plot in a short paragraph, just small enough to fit into a small black box. I began reading, and for the most part, the message stayed the same. But there was one key factor that made this interesting. Apparently, the main antagonist of this hack wasn't Bowser at all. It was Mario? The message read as follows. Let's see. Welcome. This is Dinosaur Land. In this strange land, we find that Princess Toadstool is missing again. Looks like Mario is at it again. What the? This wasn't the original message from Super Mario World. Yeah, no shit. I thought to myself. Normally, I wouldn't think anything of this, seeing as how, over my nearly 2 years at SMW Central, I have played countless hacks and have seen many different intro messages, but this one really stuck out. At this point, I definitely knew there was something odd about this hack. Upon letting the intro level music play, I pressed the start button on my controller to finally get the overworld and begin my journey into this unknown hack. No. No. Upon entering the overworld, everything seemed normal. Some old level paths, same old level paths, same old music, but the level names were different. Instead of Yoshi's house, like it always has been every time I've ever played Super Mario World, it was now simply just Yoshi's. The house part was gone. I thought this was strange and began to lose hope in the hack because it seemed like barely anything had changed at all from the original. I was hoping to see something new. Well, unlucky for me, I got my wish, as you'll see when you read on. Oh no. Yoshi's. Oh, it's so scary! Oh no. I decided to enter the level out of curiosity. When I entered, the whole house that's normally there was gone. No more smoke, no more fire, no more little birdies, no more treehouse. All that was left was the message box. I decided to hit it. Upon opening, the message I expected to be there was replaced with what seemed like a binary. Wow. Binary. I wonder if he translates it for us. See you, Leslie. Oh, good timing. Good timing, Spike. Okay, he does translate it. Apparently it says notepad. At this point, I was on IRC telling everyone about how the hack was starting to weird me out, which yielded some sarcastic responses. But hey, I expected it. Anyways, after this, my interest level in the hack skyrocketed, and along with it, my paranoia. Oh boy, was I was in for a fun surprise. Cool. So I decided to head left. Upon reaching what was before known as Yoshi's Island 1, the level was labeled, "Never come back." Now I thought things were going to be all Kaizo Death Trap because generally that is what people name their levels in Kaizo hacks, to make sure the player doesn't go there. To my surprise, it wasn't quite that way, though I wish that it had been. Upon entering level 105, I was greeted by the insanely loud clown car sound that Bowser's flying vehicle makes right before Peach falls out. Of course, with my headphones being moderately high, the sound scared the living shit out of me, which wouldn't have happened if I hadn't been so nervous beforehand. Deciding at this time it would be best if I turned the volume on my headphones down as to not get any more unpleasant surprises such as that one. When I entered the level, other than the music, everything seemed to be the same, except for the fact that the little Koopa that slides on the ledges wasn't there anymore, nor was the Bonsai Bill. The Dragon Coin was still there. However, for some odd reason, I wasn't able to collect it. Or rather any dragon coins at all. The author made certain of that. I also noticed that there was a brown, used block near the spot where the bonsai bill normally shows up. I can only assume that this was a revisit to the level after I had beaten it, like I heard in some half-assed creepy stories in other Mario games. Now I was wondering why things were like this, making me wonder about the intro message. Had Mario done something previously to Dinosaur Land? Was this from Bowser's point of view? I quickly dismissed the latter option, because it seemed kind of stupid. So that left me thinking that Mario at one point in time in the author's story did something, but what? What did Mario do? Maybe we'll find out after the break. Okay, what did Mario do? My mind was nothing but rushing thoughts at this point.
Tries no be scared. Scariest stories. I heard a knock on my door, and to my surprise it was Larry. Little did I know, it was evil Larry.
Pushing it more. However, I quickly dismissed them and ventured further into the level, only to find that basically all blocks had been hit, all coins collected, save for the dragon coins. Those were still there and unobtainable. That there were no enemies, and that I could no longer go down pipes. What kind of bullshit am I playing here? I kept thinking to myself. At this point, I felt uncomfortable, but I decided to keep venturing. Eventually, I came across a message box, which I wasn't surprised was still in the level. Being the idiot I am, I went and I hit the box. Upon hitting it, I was greeted with the familiar black box once again. The message was edited, obviously. I had figured that this was a given at this point. I read that weird. It read as follows. Oh. Why did it disappear immediately? Okay. It says point of advice. I hate you. So scary. So scary. Now I thought things were starting to get the vibe that the author was a twisted and warped individual, and that I was right about Mario having done something. At this point, I was basically rushing to get to the end of the level, so I just scurried by, and then came across another message box. However, this one was blank, with point of advice at the top and nothing else in it. I quickly disregarded it and headed off further to the right, hoping to free myself of the hell that was once level 105. It's hell! I can't collect anything! Oh no! Upon reaching the end, I saw a fire flower in the top block, where the four-way block intersection used to be. However, it was too high for me to reach by normal means, so I just continued onward. Like the blind, curious idiot I would do. I finally beat the level, and as usual, the path to the Yellow Switch Palace was unlocked. I decided to head up the path that normally leads there, and I found that when I entered the main overworld, every other landmass and decoration besides the ghosts from the ghost houses and Yoshi's Island itself were gone. Nothing really changed at the Yellow Switch Palace except for the Switch message. All that changed was that Switch Palace was changed to Mario World. Boring. Anyways, just when I thought I was done with this abomination that calls itself a hack, I found that Yoshi's Island 2 had been edited. Oh joy! I thought to myself. Sarcasm. I like they wrote the HTML that's supposed to be like brackets slash sarcasm, but they put the slash in the wrong place. Wow, you're such a programmer, dude. I don't know, that picture's worth sharing. Upon reaching Yoshi's Island 2, I found that it had been renamed to Yoshi's House, the original name of level 104. I decided... Sorry, my tracking looked a little wonky for a second. I decided to enter, and found that the palette of the level had been altered, along with the background. They seemed to have changed to the same palette as Yoshi's Island 3. You know, greenish tan and such, except the background was pushed down some. It was now a rotting brown color, and the vegetation on the FG was no longer present. You can use your imagination for that one. Or I can just, you know, see if I can share that. Oh no, it's so scary! I'm scared! I'm gonna do that every time. I decided to explore the level a bit and came across the trail of Koopas that countless players have used a shell to rack free 1-ups with. I ignored them and go see if any more of the level had changed, and eventually came across the question mark that holds Yoshi, and decided to free him. Upon doing so, I got this message. Hooray! Thank you for rescuing me. My name is Yoshi. On my way to rescue my friends, Mario trapped me in that egg. Oh. I need to know when this pasta came out. I'm honestly wondering, because depending on the time it came out for reasons, palette swaps and edits shouldn't be surprising. I don't want to lose my place, but here is where I'm reading it from, so it probably has the date on there. This had me wondering what kind of sick and twisted hack I was playing. So evil! I had thoughts of all possible scenarios of Mario attacking Dinosaur Land horribly and causing irreversible damage. The author had me hooked with this sick little game, and like any other idiot, I took the bait and kept coming back for more. Somewhere not far off from the Yoshi question mark block, I found a message box, in the same place I remember that it always had been. Though, if I'd learned anything at all from playing this, it was that whatever was in that message box was not going to be even remotely normal in the slightest. This made me hesitant to hit it, but I ended up doing so anyways. I wanted to find out more. The message I was greeted with was as follows. But, is there anything I can do to change your mind? What the fuck? I thought to myself. What the hell did this even mean? Change my mind? What would I change my mind about anyways? Was this about Mario and whatever he did? And about how people were trying to convince him to stop? Was Yoshi talking to me through message boxes? Or was it about me? About me playing the hack? Asking me as if the hack was trying to talk to me through message boxes? Either way, whether it was for more backstory on what Mario had done, or it was questioning my decision to keep going, I decided to keep progressing, despite the obvious signs that I should have quit playing the hack a while ago. As I progressed further, I found that I was right. All vegetation was gone and nothing was left at all, save for a few enemies, like chucks and moles and such. Even the pipes were gone. I came across another message box. Like all other times before, I decided to hit it. I was greeted with yet another cryptic message. Point of advice. This is the selfish way out. The selfish way out? What the hell? Was he calling me selfish for continuing to play the hack despite the warnings? Had Mario made some kind of selfish decision that had only benefited him? Was Yoshi still trying to talk to me? What the hell was this guy trying to tell me? At this point, I was creeped out to the point that I was shaking slightly. A mix of anticipation, fear, and the fact that my room was terribly cold last night. I closed the message room. I closed the message box and once again proceeded further. The area with the moles seemed the same, except for the fact that the block next to the vine block was gone, along with the happy clouds and dragon coin the vine allowed access to. Are the happy clouds angry now? That'd be funny. This made me feel gloomy, to say the least. Not so much frightened as I was depressed. It's a feeling I couldn't really explain well. From this point on, it was basically just a big empty stretch of land to the end of the level. I proceeded quickly. I wanted to get the fuck out of there, as I felt that I had spent enough time looking around. So me and Yoshi, I still had him at the time, opened up the next path on the overworld. It too had changed. What was once Yoshi's Island 3 now read as Yoshi's Island 7! Memories of Super Bobido World flooded my mind. How the levels would take giant leaps in number order, which made it seem ridiculous. though at this time I didn't quite find it as humorous due to common sense and obvious reasons explained earlier. I entered the level. As I entered, I was welcomed by a solid black background and a blue and gray colored floor. The place seemed frozen, lifeless and barren. There was nothing in the level at all, save for the goal point. Just a clear stretch of land with nothing else. I quickly lost interest and finished the level. It seemed like the most empty and creepy level in the game, though as you'll read on, it gets far worse. Oh, it's so creepy. This is the song that was ripped off in Off, I think. No, I think it's Die, not I'll Kill You. They're two different songs. With the level beaten, a new path opened up. Yoshi's Island 4 was now just leave now. I hesitated as to whether I would stop playing, but my interest kept me going further. At this point, hashtag SMWC was nothing but me posting findings and messages from the hack, so that others could experience what I was experiencing. The channel, sadly, was unusually inactive. It seemed like no one really cared or wasn't around. I felt alone. I proceeded into the level. For the most part, everything seemed the same, save for the fact that there was now no water at all to keep me from falling in pits without using Yoshi as a sacrifice. The level was also void of all enemies as well. Whenever I got to an area that seemed too far for me to jump, I found that I could just walk right across on the air, thus getting rid of the need to use Yoshi as a sacrifice. It's apparent that the hack wanted me to keep him. I could tell that much. I was able to get to the pipe that usually leads to the exit level. I went in and found that the room was exactly the same. Everything in the right place and nothing edited. Or so I thought. The message box once again broke the mood of that brief moment of relief I had experienced upon entering the pipe. This pasta predates Sonic EXE by a few months. That's incredible. There we go. You get, if you cut the at the end, if you can collect, you can. Okay. At this point, I was questioning whether I should keep going to see how it ended or quit now while I still had a bit of common sense left. You're not gonna question that message, like, what the fuck did that even say? The message box was sort of indistinguishable. Yeah, no shit. And I couldn't really make sense of it. For a moment, I tried to figure out what it meant, but eventually I just gave up and beat the level. Figured that box wasn't worth the time anyways. The reason it's written like this is it's just an SMW hacker playing a hack that was released. He was expecting a regular SMW hack and not someone's weird attempt at a creepy game. So, this isn't quite CreepyPasta level, this is just somebody retelling them playing a creepy Mario hack. So this is actually... Well, I'm sure they did some embellishing with this. Like, the hack is real, you can play it. So the hack was made first, and this is just them talking about playing it. I'm sorry I've been like, oh no, it's so scary! I'm so rude, but it's funny. Eventually, I just gave up and beat the level. I figured that box wasn't worth the time anyways. With the level beaten, the path to the first world castle opened, now renamed from number 1 Iggy's Castle to number 1 Go Back. I sure did feel welcome here. Sarcasm again, written incorrectly. No, it's very silly. I'm wondering, like, how much of this was embellishment, or if, like, they were just trying to lean into the quote-unquote, like, creepypasta aspects of it. The fact that it is a real hack that they were playing and they're, like, actually retelling, like, their experience with it is actually really cool and adds a lot to this experience, honestly. But it is very silly, the hack in general, and the fact that they keep being like, I'm really disturbed. But honestly, in the context of, like, just thinking it's just some a mediocre hack and then they start playing it and it's just slightly off is like, you know what? I can understand why you would be creeped out by this. I decided to completely ignore the level name, as I just wanted to get this over with and be done with it forever. What seemed like a normal castle intro was made especially creepy given the fact that I had to dismount Yoshi. I felt for the first time that I was actually abandoning him, and I wished I had taken him with me. The inside room of the castle looked strange. There was this darkish, bluish, greenish, black lava, that's a mouthful, on the ceiling and goal points that looked like pillars. Aside from that, next to each pillar, there was an increasing amount of message boxes the further I got. The room was basically just a big hallway with no enemies or anything of the sort. Great, let's check this out. So, pretty cool. It's like B3313 is only creepy if you're intimately familiar with Mario 64, since half the point is that it's Mario 64 but wrong. Yeah, absolutely. Every message box I pressed gave me either a blank box with Yoshi's signature at the bottom or the message that reads as follows. As follows. Don't you think you've caused enough trouble? August 10th, 2011 is the approximate date Sonic EXE was posted to the CreepyPasta wiki. Mario was posted March 6th that same year. That's crazy. Another cryptic message. At this point, I wasn't surprised, not in the slightest. Again, the thoughts in my head started circling, wondering what exactly Mario had done, why he was here, and why everything seemed to hate everything about him and wanted him gone forever. I was feeling more depressed than scared at this point, to be honest, and I had no idea what to expect next. I proceeded down the long hallway, checking message boxes filled with nothing but the same two messages over and over. It's like they were telling me to stop playing or something. Obviously, I ignored them and kept going. I eventually reached the end of the hallway. Let's put this image up before I read the blurb next to it. Let's see. There we go. There was a door, which I entered. I was welcomed by nothing but a small section of land. The level was also auto-scrolling, so I figured that this must be the end. That the author wanted me to jump in the pit and commit suicide or something, thus ending my journey. I was wrong. The auto-scroll pushed me over the ledge. Ah! Ah, no! There's my Mario picture over the... Oh, no! Hi, Proxy. How was your stream? How was your wheel of DS games? How did that go? What was the best one? Tell me about it. Oh my goodness, thanks for the follow. Hi everybody. We're reading CreepyPastas. Again. Right now we're reading Mario. Which is probably one of the earlier Mario creepypastas. This one is really interesting because it's actually a retelling of somebody playing a real ROM hack. So it's really cool. Thank you, Matt. That was unironically a lot of fun. Hell yeah. Well, thank you so much for the raid. If you gotta, like, get some food and relax, I don't blame you. Go do that. Get some after-stream care. You and Sass, because I believe Sass had joined you, unless I hallucinated that. I don't know. Anyway. Hi! If you're unfamiliar with me, I'm Spoonie the Spooky Cat. I play all things wacky, weird, creepy, and wet, and sometimes I read creepypastas because it's fun. This is only my second time doing that, but I enjoy doing these. They're very fun. I'm probably going to run out of creepypastas after this stream because there aren't a whole lot of good ones. But Proxy, we read your fishing one, my last fishing trip. That was pretty fun. With it had a horror trope that drives me crazy, which is like, if you're reading this, I'm already dead. And it's like, why are you writing this? You're being circled by a giant beast. But it's funny. I like that trope, but hate it at the same time. Hell yeah. We got scary stuff. So, I have this little picture here to illustrate the point that's happening here in the Mario ROM hack. Such a fucking hack trope, I love it. It's always so funny when, like, there's a monster, like, stalking somebody and they write, like, a fucking novel, and they're like, if you find this, I'm dead. And it's like, how did they find this? Did you write it on paper? Did you write it in your phone? Did you write it on a laptop? What are you doing? Anyway, welcome to my stream. Soggy Doggy Tunnel. That sounds wrong. Why is this song so quiet? We do have media shares on currently, so if you have a creepy track from a videoed game, or just a creepy track in general that you would like to share, media shares are open. There's a pinned message in the chat. You can also just type !media share and you can donate and add a track from YouTube. If you have issues with it, you could just ask and I can tell you how to do it. Oh, yeah. Oh, I love that emote. I love that emote, the little dancing. Ah. Imagine getting writer's block while the creepy monster is trying to get you. Oh no. That'd be unfortunate. Hi, Impulse. Okay. We shall continue the Mario ROM hack adventure. Let's go. There was a door, which I entered. I was welcomed by nothing but a small section of land. The level was also auto-scrolling. So I figured that this must be the end, and the author wanted me to jump in the pit and commit suicide or something, thus ending my journey. I was wrong. The auto-scroll pushed me over the ledge, and I was still walking, unfortunately. The whole level was nothing but a long stretch of invisible land to another small piece of land just big enough for a boss door to fit. The auto-scroll came to a stop, and I prepared for the worst. I gathered my composure, swallowed some of the spit in my mouth, and took a deep breath. There we go. I entered. Nothing but a normal Iggy boss. I don't know why I said Iggy boss. Iggy boss. There we go. I felt cheated in a way, but I was happy to think it was finally over. I defeated Iggy with 2 jumps effortlessly, which was actually the quickest I'd ever beaten him before. After he fell in the lava, the coarse, clear message popped up as usual. It ended and I was brought to the rescue egg scene. Though, instead of the usual message, I was shown something disturbing and vastly different, like a profile for the scene of a crime. It was as follows. Let's see. Oh, little nightmares. Victim number 1. Eyeballs were unable to be found. The victim was found lying on her carpet. Causes of death unknown. Hand marks with unidentifiable fingerprints were found all over the corpse. Very cool. What the fuck is wrong with this guy? I said as I read the disturbing message. I mean, it was a hack, but still. Who the hell was this victim? Why were her eyeballs gouged out? And just what could have made those unidentifiable fingerprints that were found on her body? Was this Mario's doing? Is this what the author was trying to tell me? And furthermore, was the girl Princess Toadstool? What? It took me a while to see if I read the message correctly. Then I proceeded outwards, wondering what would happen next, since the main map was completely gone and there was no trace of it anywhere. To my surprise, it still showed the path marked for Donut Plains. The event tiles were still there, marking the path to the lone level on the giant map that was once the main world. It was still called Donut Plains 1. I thought we were finally done once more, but when I entered the level, I could see that, like the previous times, I was once again wrong. Upon entering, I saw 2 messages. They said as follows. There's no way out. There's no way out of here. Fly away. I've seen that victim number 1 screenshot before out of context. That's funny. Oh my god. Knowing that fingerprints are more unidentifiable than not is kind of funny. Yeah. I found it quite strange that both message boxes were contradicting each other. One was telling me that there was no way out of this accursed hell, and the other one was telling me that if I could fly away, I could be free. Though I saw no feather enemies to grab one with. Was this telling me that I could either rise up and go to heaven or stay in hell forever, wallowing in despair? Did I need a cape to proceed? And what happens after this? Is the whole game like this? I began to create more thoughts in my head, trying to figure the message boxes out, but to no avail. I proceeded to walk to the right. I made a jump, but found that I was stuck in the area. There was an invisible wall, and I thought I'd hit a dead end. When I landed, I tried moving right again to see if there was any way to go on. All of a sudden, I heard the pipe sound and watched the pipe animation, except there was no pipe present, so it looked quite odd. New picture. Yep. I was then taken to a level with a black background. There were stone blocks for ground and a small door. I was immediately given a mushroom to prevent me from entering it. So I proceeded further to see if there was anything else in the level. I found that the room was nothing but a long stretch of concrete blocks and doors that were too small for me to enter because of the mushroom I'd had. It's obvious that the author didn't want me to go through any of them, or I wouldn't have gotten the mushroom in the first place. Dude, you can crouch and then jump and crouch, and you can get through the spaces just fine. I don't even play that much Mario, and I know that. I knew. Next one. Scary. Okay. As I proceeded, I found myself at a dead end. Since there was nothing left for me to look at, I tried to go right again. It worked. I went through the brick wall. It acted like a pipe. And Mario went through a pipe animation that looked like he was going into the darkness. This picture is called Portal. This picture? I do like that there's these pictures, because I couldn't get the ROM hack to work because I'm lazy. This one's called Void. I was then taken to a small room with what seemed like a pit and a wall. I jumped down into the pit, seeing as how there was no other option, though I found that the bottom of it was solid. I tried pressing down in a bunch of areas until I came across a pipe. Mario slowly did the pipe transition downwards off the screen. Congratulations, Mario, on your transition to pipe. Okay, that was a bad joke. Expecting another level, I waited, but there was no more. Just a black screen. I was unable to continue. Unable to pause or exit the level or move. There was nothing. Nothing at all. This was the video game representation of death. A crash. Mario had died. After playing, I think I finally understand what was happening. I believe Mario was atoning for his actions, eventually being plummeted into a hell that looked exactly like Yoshi's Island, where he was lost to the grip of death. Forever. I was finally done playing and quite relieved at that. The nightmare was over and activity on the IRC seemed to be back up again. I quickly shared my tales with the rest of #SMWC and typed this documentation of it. If you feel daring enough, you too can witness my tale firsthand. Remember guys, it's only a hack. It can't hurt you. Or can it? There's an aftermath for this. IRC, God, this really was 2011. Yeah! It's just a hack! It actually is a hack, and allegedly, this person was just retelling their experience playing the hack. You can play it. You can play it if you so choose. Yeah, nice ad for your hack, buddy. I'm pretty sure this was a setup. I'm pretty sure this dude, made this hack himself, and then played it himself, and then, or, you know, told the story of the hack itself. I'm pretty sure that's what happened here. So let me delete this photo. Let me read this tiny little aftermath thing. The hack, being the first of its kind to hit SMW Central, gained a lot of attention. Even the site's founder and administrator, Kieran, currently Kieran Menor, immediately recognized the text file that Adam mistook for the SMC ROM image converted into text as a JPEG due to its header. He tried manually converting it into JPEG, but the result was barely viewable. The only recognizable part was the very top. He then continued searching Google for images with his attempts resolution 327 by 277, and the second result struck him as relevant. You can find Kieran's post here. His original attempt only displays a broken image now. This hack's novelty on SMW Central wore off, however, and it was removed from the hack database after having been accepted for being the first of its kind, a creepypasta hack. Very cool, honestly. As corny as it was it's very cool that this kind of, like, made history. This is the text file converted back into a JPEG. It's kind of creepy. There it is. What if they made the pasta and someone made the hack as fan art? That'd be funny. Alright, that was Mario. I liked that. I liked the setup for that because of the hack existing. That actually adds a lot to it. That adds a lot to it. And since Proxy is here, I'm gonna read one of yours that you recommended. In 2011, I was 16. I would have probably found this kind of scary. I wouldn't have. But I do like it. So this was submitted by Proxy. Haha. And it's called How I Became a Japanese Urban Legend. And it starts. That is the sound of what is probably the creepiest of Japanese urban myths. Teke Teke is her name. It's typical that the Japanese would give the scariest of horror story creatures such a misleadingly stupid sounding name. It probably has to do with the sound it makes. I would understand the horror of the creature as well as anyone on account of the fact that I ran into her. Like a typical American skeptic, I didn't take to the Japanese folklore with much heed. After all, every story seemed to have the same moral: don't go out after dark alone. Therefore, it was only natural to believe that the stories were only a system of keeping kids from wandering off. When one story was proved wrong or ignored, another and more exotic story was made up to keep the children enveloped in pants-sweating fear of wandering off. The stories ranged from that of the slit-mouthed woman to the impossibility of the 50-story skeleton that would gladly tear off your head and drink the blood from your system like you were a juice box. Oh my god, I want to meet that skeleton. That sounds awesome. Holy shit. But there were always holes in the story. Why isn't that working? Always holes in the story. Such as how in the world a 50-story skeleton hasn't been spotted by more than one person at a time, or even how something that massive could ever sneak up on anyone. And even the story of the slit-mouthed woman has its problems. The story supposedly features a beautiful Japanese woman who angered her husband, who in turn sliced her mouth in his rage. Now she goes around with a scarf over her mouth, asking people if she's beautiful or not. If you say no, she takes a giant pair of shears to you. If you say yes, she takes off her scarf and asks the same question again. At that point, you're pretty much screwed no matter what you say, unless you tell her she's so-so, and then make a run for it while she's contemplating what to do with that statement. However, it is never mentioned what happens if you see the giant pair of scissors on her back and just make a run for it before she asks you anything, or if you happen to be armed and just shoot the girl in the head at point-blank range the moment she takes off the scarf. That's fucked up. Why would you do that to her? The story of Teke Teke is similar in ways of plot holes. The story is about a girl who jumps/falls into a subway and gets split in half. How she didn't get pulverized completely is anyone's guess. Afterward, her spirit gets royally ticked off at the world and chases down any poor sap she sees and cuts them in half. Her name is based off the noise she makes as she runs, as her long-nailed hands clack against the ground rapidly. Ooh, ooh. You know an American wrote this. Oh yeah. Tick, 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 tick. Even if dead spirits were able to interact with the real world, my question is why Teke's so angry. I've seen plenty of people who had lost their legs on reality shows or whatever, and they seem pretty happy. And her tripping and falling onto a railway wasn't anyone's fault besides her own. Therefore, that myth seemed to contradict a rational human mindset. At least that's what I thought, until I saw her torso sitting on a wall late one Friday evening. In a classic horror story fashion, it was incredibly dark and I was walking home alone. Like I mentioned earlier, I did not take much of the surrounding folklore seriously. I actually thought it was a full-sized girl for the longest time. If I had known that she was the ultimate concentration of horrific, mutilating nightmare fuel, I probably wouldn't have approached her so carelessly to ask if she was alright. However, my good intentions changed to a furious rush of terror when she jerked violently at the sound of my voice and hopped off of the wall. Before she even hit the ground, I clearly saw that most of the bottom portion of her was missing. She scurried toward me like an angered spider, making indistinguishable groaning and shrieking sounds as she raced toward me. It's when I took off like a scared puppy. Who wouldn't? The way this was written, it almost sounds like the people lost their legs because of the reality shows. Yeah, that's why I read it like, what it? Glory? Hello? I'm a very fast runner. That undeniable fact has been mentioned several times to me by my peers ever since middle school. I would have stopped running after the first few minutes if I had managed to leave whatever was chasing me behind, but the noise did not subside. In fact, as I ran, it grew steadily louder. The way this is written is so fucking boggling. It's pretty good as far as creepypastas go. But yeah, that part was written so silly. The possibility of this being an insanely well-configured prank had crossed my mind several times. I'd asked for this elaborate joke the moment I bragged to all of my friends that ghost stories didn't scare me, or that I didn't believe in ghosts. However, the way that the creature moved and how fast it went and how impossible it is to pull off something like this without Hollywood effects or circus creatures, I really had little to believe except that the fact that Teke happened to be the main character of an all-too-true story. But during my rambling and strangely calm train of thought, I noticed something. I got my feet to finally stop and listened. The clicking noise had stopped. A gust of wind swirled around the corners of the alley and wrapped around my feet. Suddenly a bolt of movement shot past the corner of my eye. Tick. I turned around at the strange spurt of the horrendous clicking. However, the moment I focused my ears in to find out where the specter had run to, the clicking quit. There needs to be a comma there. I listened to what was now a dead and ominous silence, the type of quiet that would play out in a horror movie before some corpse fell out of the ceiling with its eyes sliced out of the sockets and its mouth hanging open in a ghastly scream. Tick. I turned back at the spurt of sounds again. My heart pounded so hard, I felt like I was going to go unconscious. I should just get out of here, I thought to myself. That was perhaps a bad idea on account of a probable inability to watch my own back while mindlessly dashing. However, my body instantly obeyed and I took off. As I rounded the corner, I was stopped by the short and legless figure of Teke, who stood on her hands no more than a few feet away from me. I'm imagining the twin victim from Silent Hill 4, but, you know, with one head instead of two. My heart leapt up, slamming into my throat and expelling a gag. The sound of my gag, Teke looked into my eyes. In the light of a street lamp, I actually got a glimpse of her face. In means of symmetrical features and a well-shaped nose, she was actually a very lovely girl. However, the sheer panic of the situation made the beauty matter very little to me. But the scariest thing was, when I gagged, I swear that the pupils of her eyes grew until the whites disappeared from her sockets when she turned and faced me. She raced at me while I attempted to start running again, and lurched like a fierce predator toward my lower torso with both of her hands outstretched. It was unreal how far she was able to jump. I screamed and swatted her as best I could to the side. I very well managed not to get cut in half, but her claw made a large gash in my side just above the pelvis. I yelled as the blood began to pour out of my side, and in a terribly unintelligent motion, I flopped down onto the ground and onto my back as I bled. By that time, Teke Teke had shaken off my blow and leapt onto my form as I lay on my back. It's oddly specific. He's really like, she might be a monster, but she's at least a 7 out of 10. Well-shaped nose. Yeah, I don't like that detail. That's a little... what is... Brother. It was at that point that I switched from mildly intelligent survivalist to mindless panicked child. I shrieked and twisted violently to shake her off. Most of what happened during that time was a blur. A bunch of painful slashes of claws and blood until my face was blinded by red. It was almost a surreal nightmare. No, it was a surreal nightmare. Every feeling of panic and terror that you'd feel when being attacked by an angry dog was multiplied by the fact that this unhappy and vengeful creature was less than a dog and far more frightening. See, that's the problem. He chose to run instead of flirt. Exactly. I must have blacked out, because suddenly I came to my senses in a railway station. Everything was still blackened, horrendously dark, but I was able to see my hands and a few faint glows of shattered advertising signs. I was unable to recall how I got into the railway station in the first place. I could have crawled there in my wounded state, or Teke Teke could have dragged me there. However, my memory at that point was fuzzy and unreliable. I checked behind my back, and my spine crunched as my torso turned a full 180 degrees. When I looked behind me, oh my god, it's eco music. It didn't hurt, but it produced a strange feeling of relief, like popping your back in a violent manner. There's something about this song from Eco that fills me with dread every time I hear it. Oh my god. Kind of reminiscent of Mike Dawson in Darkseid 2, saying that the Underworld Guardian being like, she'd be beautiful if her flesh wasn't decayed. Yeah, kinda. I didn't mean to turn myself around in such a grotesque manner, but it didn't terrify me as much as one would suspect. When I straightened myself with another abnormal crunch, I examined myself and unintentionally reminded myself of the gash that was laid upon my side by Teke Teke. Now I was able to view the thing in full potential. It was cut all the way from front to back in a clean slice. However, no blood poured from the wound. That was the final revelation that I needed to know, why I had been left alone. I'm dead, I thought to myself, still far too shaken to break the silence of the railway station by verbalizing my thoughts. The horror quit at that time. For the revelation that death wasn't quite as terrible as I thought, it was still sinking in slowly. However, I was quickly distracted by the sight of a young woman walking down a far more well-lit path far from me. Not noticing my huge form standing stiffly in the shadows, I was overwhelmed with the feeling that it was my inner purpose to hurt her. I moved toward the girl, my spine moving unnaturally and my torso twisting on and off of my pelvis with the large gash that kept the upper part of my body half holding on. Okay, how did they write this? They died. How did they write this? Where did they write this? Did they just, okay, I am split in half now. Let me, write the, I mean, you still have your hands. But, like, you're a ghost now. They got better. That was fun, though. It's a fun one. I like the imagery of, the ghost, running toward people on their hands. I just instantly thought of the twin victim from Silent Hill 4. Maybe they dictated it to someone with a Luigi board. It was all a dream. And then see, the actual explanation is this is a made-up story that somebody just wrote. But a quintessential part of creepypastas is it has to be somewhat believable. You gotta cover your tracks. You gotta give me a reason. You give me a reason. Give me a reason to believe this. It was all a dream! I got cut in half by the Japanese! Ghostwriter, but You know what, I want to look up a picture of the Teke Teke. Give me a picture of a Teke Teke. Oh! I like this one. I don't know what this is from. Hang on. Ah, shit. Let me move this over here. Check out. Oh no, Teke Teke! Teke Teke! Scary! I love her. Alright. It's fun to say, yeah, it really is. Okay, what do we have next? Oh, this one's short. This one was, recommended by Hadley. It's gonna take like 2 minutes. This is Gateway of the Mind. Let's see. Take a sip. Just punch her like a football. Oh my god, the imagery. What am I saving? In 1983, a team of deeply pious scientists conducted a radical experiment in an undisclosed facility. The scientists had theorized that a human without access to any senses or ways to perceive stimuli would be able to perceive the presence of God. I really like this opening. They believed that the 5 senses clouded our awareness of eternity, and without them, a human could actually establish contact with God by thought. An elderly man who claimed to have nothing left to live for was the only test subject to volunteer. To purge him of all his senses, the scientists performed a complex operation in which every sensory nerve connection to the brain was surgically severed. Although the test subject retained full muscular function, he could not see, hear, taste, smell, or feel. With no possible way to communicate with or even sense the outside world, he was alone with his thoughts. Scientists monitored him as he spoke aloud about his state of mind in jumbled, slurred sentences that he couldn't even hear. After 4 days, the man claimed to be hearing hushed, unintelligible voices in his head. Assuming it was an onset of psychosis, the scientists paid little attention to the man's concerns. 2 days later, the man cried that he could hear his dead wife speaking with him, and even more, he could communicate back. The scientists were intrigued, but were not convinced until the subject started naming dead relatives of the scientists. He repeated personal information to the scientists that only their dead spouses and parents would have known. At this point, a sizable portion of scientists left the study. Sample size of 1 is not good science. Correct. Evil science. After a week of conversing with the deceased through his thoughts, the subject became distressed, saying the voices were overwhelming. In every waking moment, his consciousness was bombarded by hundreds of voices that refused to leave him alone. He frequently threw himself against the wall, trying to elicit a pain response. He begged the scientists for sedatives so he could escape the voices by sleeping. This tactic worked for 3 days until he started having severe night terrors. The subject repeatedly said that he could see and hear the deceased in his dreams. Only a day later, the subject began to scream and claw at his non-functional eyes, hoping to sense something in the physical world. The hysterical subject now said the voices of the dead were deafening and hostile, speaking of hell and the end of the world. At one point he yelled, "No heaven, no forgiveness," for 5 hours straight. He continually begged to be killed, but the scientists were convinced that he was close to establishing contact with God. After another day, the subject could no longer form coherent sentences. Seemingly mad, he started to bite off chunks of flesh from his arm. The scientist rushed into the test chamber and restrained him to a table so he could not kill himself. After a few hours of being tied down, the subject halted his struggling and screaming. He stared blankly at the ceiling as teardrops silently streaked across his face. For 2 weeks, the subject had to be manually rehydrated due to the constant crying. Eventually, he turned his head and, despite his blindness, made focused eye contact with the scientist for the first time in the study. He whispered, "I have spoken with God, and he has abandoned us." And his vital signs stopped. There was no apparent cause of death. That's it. Yeah, this feels more like an SCP article, but that's not an issue. It's good. I like this. I have a few gripes with it. This is just a nitpicky thing. Writing-wise, it's great. It's short, it's sweet, it's good, it's thought-provoking. I like it. Here's the thing. If you have absolutely, like, you are disconnected completely from your senses, the big one being feeling, I think it would be a lot harder to speak coherently. That's because you wouldn't be able to feel your mouth moving. You wouldn't be able to feel, you wouldn't be able to feel that. You wouldn't be getting any feedback. 'Cause like, when you have no sense of hearing, you can still speak, but you don't hear yourself, and that makes it harder for you to speak. Now, if you didn't feel your mouth moving, I feel like it would be incredibly hard to speak, you know? And there was another gripe I had with this. That's basically the main gripe I have with it. But I guess that's the creepiness of it, is like, how would you be able to speak if you have no feeling whatsoever? Yeah, no, when you have your, like, mouth numbed, it is really hard to speak. So if I couldn't feel my fucking mouth at all, if I couldn't feel anything, good lord, I would not be able to speak at all. If I couldn't hear myself, if there was no feedback whatsoever, I don't think I'd be able to speak. But yeah, maybe that's just part of the horror. It's like, how? How do you speak? That's crazy. You saw God. Amazing. No, I like that. That one's cool. That one's cool. Thank you, Hadley, for that recommendation. Okay, how long is this one? This one's about 15 minutes. Okay. But we have an ad about to start, so I think I'm going to take a break before we continue. So let's do that. We back. We back. Let's go. Alright. What are we reading next? We back. Russian sleep experiment. This was recommended by Rory. Okay. The story. A classic. I've never read this one. There's a lot of creepypastas I didn't read. I remember reading a lot, but it was like... It was like obscure ones that people would post on X, on 4chan. Because that's where a lot of creepypastas like circulated. That's why it's called a creepypasta, because copypasta, which was a... yeah, there you go. Alright. Russian researchers in the late 1940s kept 5 people awake for 15 days using an experimental gas-based stimulant. Okay, this is sounding familiar. Maybe I've at least heard of this. They were kept in a sealed environment to carefully monitor their oxygen intake so the gas didn't kill them, since it was toxic in high concentrations. This was before closed-circuit cameras, so they had only microphones and 5-inch thick glass porthole-sized windows in the chamber to monitor them. The chamber was stocked with books, cots to sleep on, but no bedding, running water and toilet, and enough dried food to last all 5 for over a month. You sure did, Hadley. The test subjects were political prisoners deemed enemies of the state during World War II. Everything was fine for the first 5 days. The subjects hardly complained, having been promised, falsely, that they would be freed if they submitted to the test and did not sleep for 30 days. Their conversations and activities were monitored, and it was noted that they continued to talk about increasingly traumatic incidents in their past. And the general tone of their conversations took on a darker aspect after the 4-day mark. After 5 days, they started to complain about the circumstances and events that led them to where they were and started to demonstrate severe paranoia. They stopped talking to each other and began alternately whispering to the microphones and one-way mirrored portholes. Oddly, they all seemed to think they could win the trust of the experimenters by turning over their comrades, the other subjects in captivity, with them. At first, the researchers suspected this was an effect of the gas itself. After 9 days, the first of them started screaming. He ran the length of the chamber, repeatedly yelling at the top of his lungs for 3 hours straight. He continued attempting to scream, but was only able to produce occasional squeaks. The researchers postulated that he had physically torn his vocal cords. The most surprising thing about this behavior is how the other captives reacted to it, or rather didn't react to it. They continued whispering to the microphones until the second of the captives started to scream. The 2 non-screaming captives took the books apart, smeared page after smeared page with their own smeared page after page with their own feces and pasted them calmly over the glass portholes. The screaming promptly stopped. So did the whispering to the microphones. After 3 more days passed, the researchers checked the microphones hourly to make sure they were working, since they thought it impossible that no sound could be coming with 5 people inside. The oxygen consumption in the chamber indicated that all 5 must still be alive. In fact, it was the amount of oxygen 5 people would consume at a very heavy level of strenuous exercise. On the morning of the 14th day, the researchers did something they said they would not do to get a reaction from the captives. They used the intercom inside the chamber, hoping to provoke any response from the captives they were afraid were either dead or vegetables. They announced, "We are opening the chamber to test the microphones. Step away from the door and lie flat on the floor, or you will be shot. Compliance will earn one of you your immediate freedom." To their surprise, they heard a single phrase in a calm voice respond, "We no longer want to be freed." Debate broke out among the researchers and the military forces funding the research. Unable to provoke any more response using the intercom, it was finally decided to open the chamber at midnight on the 15th day. The chamber was flushed of the stimulant gas and filled with fresh air, and immediately voices from the microphones began to object. 3 different voices began begging, as if pleading for the life of loved ones, to turn the gas back on. The chamber was opened, and the soldiers sent in to retrieve the test subjects. They began to scream louder than ever, and so did the soldiers when they saw what was inside. 4 of the 5 subjects were still alive, although no one could rightly call the state that any of them in life. The food rations past day 5 had not been so much as touched. There were chunks of meat from the dead test subjects' thighs and chest stuffed into the drain in the center of the chamber, blocking the drain and allowing 4 inches of water to accumulate on the floor. Precisely how much of the water on the floor was actually blood was never determined. All 4 surviving test subjects also had large portions of muscle and skin torn away from their bodies. The destruction of flesh and exposed bone on their fingertips indicated that the wounds were inflicted by hand, not with teeth as the researchers initially thought. Closer examination of the position and angles of the wounds indicated that most, if not all of them, were self-inflicted. Remember the classic statue picture? I'm not sure. The abdominal organs below the ribcage of all 4 test subjects had been removed. While the heart, lungs, and diaphragm remained in place. The skin and most of the muscles attached to the ribs had been ripped off, exposing the lungs through the rib cage. All the blood vessels and organs remained intact. They had just been taken out and laid on the floor, fanning out around the eviscerated but still living bodies of the subjects. The digestive tract of all four could be seen to be working, digesting food. It quickly became apparent that what they were digesting was their own flesh that they had ripped off and eaten over the course of days. Most of the soldiers were Russian special operatives at the facility. But still, the feeling for meat. What a great song to play. This is perfect! But still, many refused to return to the chamber to remove the test subjects. They continued to scream to be left in the chamber, and alternatively begged and demanded that the gas be turned back on lest they fall asleep. To everyone's surprise, the test subjects put up a fierce fight in the process of being removed from the chamber. One of the Russian soldiers died from having his throat ripped out. Another was gravely injured by having his testicles ripped off and an artery in his leg severed by one of the subject's teeth. Another 5 of the soldiers lost their lives if you count ones that committed suicide in the weeks following the incident. In the struggle, one of the 4 living subjects had his spleen ruptured and he bled out almost immediately. The medical researchers attempted to sedate him, but this proved impossible. He was injected with more than 10 times the human dose of a morphine derivative and still fought like a cornered animal, breaking the ribs and arm of one doctor. When heart was seen to beat for a full 2 minutes after he had bled out to the point, there was more air in his vascular system than blood. Fuck. Even after it stopped, he continued to scream and flail for another 3 minutes, struggling to attack anyone in reach, and just repeating the word "more" over and over, weaker and weaker, until he finally fell silent. The surviving 3 test subjects were heavily restrained and moved to a medical facility, the 2 with intact vocal cords continuously begging for the gas, demanding to be kept awake. The most injured of the 3 was taken to the only surgical operating room that the facility had. In the process of preparing the subject to have his organs placed back within his body, it was found that he was effectively immune to the sedative they had given him to prepare him for the surgery. He fought furiously against his restraints when the anesthetic gas was brought out to put him under. He managed to tear most of the way through a 4-inch wide leather strap on one wrist, even though the weight of a 200-pound soldier was holding that wrist as well. It took only a little more anesthetic than normal to put him under, and the instant his eyelids fluttered and closed, his heart stopped. In the autopsy of the test subject that died on the operating table, it was found that his blood had tripled the normal level of oxygen. His muscles that were still attached to his skeleton were badly torn, and he had broken 9 bones in his struggle to not be subdued. Most of them were from the force his own muscles had exerted on them. The second survivor had been the first of the group of 5 to start screaming. His vocal cords destroyed, he was unable to beg or object to surgery, and he only reacted by shaking his head violently in disapproval when the anesthetic gas was brought near him. He shook his head yes when someone suggested. Reluctantly, they tried the surgery without anesthetic and did not react for the entire 6-hour procedure of replacing his abdominal organs and attempting to cover them with what remained of his skin. The surgeon presiding stated repeatedly that it should be medically possible for the patient to still be alive. One terrified nurse assisting the surgery stated that she had seen the patient's mouth curl into a smile several times whenever his eyes met hers. When the surgery ended, the subject looked at the surgeon and began to wheeze loudly, attempting to talk while struggling. Assuming this must be something of drastic importance, the surgeon had a pen and pad fetched so the patient could write this message. It was simple. Keep cutting. The other 2 test subjects were given the same surgery, both without anesthetic as well, although they had to be injected with a paralytic for the duration of the operation. The surgeon found it impossible to perform the operation while the patients laughed continuously. Once paralyzed, the subjects could only follow the attending researchers with their eyes. The paralytic cleared their system in an abnormally short period of time, and they were soon trying to escape their bonds. The moment they could speak, they were again asking for the stimulant gas. The researchers tried asking why they had injured themselves, why they had ripped out their own guts, and why they wanted to be given the gas again. Only one response was given. I must remain awake. All 3 subjects' restraints were reinforced, and they were placed back into the chamber awaiting determination as to what should be done with them. The researchers, facing the wrath of their military benefactors for having failed the stated goals of their project, considered euthanizing the surviving subjects. The commanding officer, a former KGB agent, instead saw potential and wanted to see what would happen if they were put back on the gas. I'm not gonna quote Parappa, no. The researchers strongly objected, but were overruled. In preparation for being sealed in the chamber again, subjects were connected to an EEG monitor and had their restraints padded for long-term confinement. To everyone's surprise, all 3 stopped struggling the moment it was let slip that they were going back on the gas. The brain worms. Back on the gas. It was obvious that at this point, all 3 were putting up a great struggle to stay awake. One of the subjects that could speak was humming loudly and continuously. Thanks for the follow. Welcome in. The mute subject was straining his legs against the leather bonds with all his might. First left, then right, then left again for something to focus on. The remaining subject was holding his head off his pillow and blinking rapidly. Having been the first to be wired for EEG, most of the researchers were monitoring his brainwaves in surprise. They were normal most of the time, but sometimes flatlined inexplicably. It looked as if he were repeatedly suffering from brain death before returning to normal. As they focused on paper scrolling out of the brainwave monitor, only one nurse saw his eyes slip shut at the same moment his head hit the pillow. His brain waves immediately changed to that of a deep sleep, then flatlined for the last time as his heart simultaneously stopped. The only remaining subject that could speak started screaming to be sealed in now. His brainwaves showed the same flat lines as one who had just died from falling asleep. The commander gave the order to seal the chamber with both subjects inside, as well as 3 researchers. One of the named 3 immediately drew his gun and shot the commander point blank between the eyes, then turned the gun on the mute subject and blew his brains out as well. He pointed his gun at the remaining subject, still restrained to a bed, as the remaining members of the medical and research team fled the room. I won't be locked in here with these things, not with you, he screamed at the man strapped to the table. What are you? He demanded. I must know. The subject smiled. Have you forgotten so easily? The subject asked. We are you. We are the madness that lurks within you all, begging to be free at every moment in your deepest animal mind. We are what you hide from in your beds every night. We are what you sedate into silence and paralysis when you go to the nocturnal haven where we cannot tread. The researcher paused and aimed at the subject's heart and fired. The EEG flatlined as the subject weakly choked out. So nearly free. Is that it? That's it. Russian sleep experiment, everybody. That fucking ruled. That was great. That was great. That was fucked up. That was great. Very believable, in my opinion. The way it was written, it felt believable. Like, this felt like a very fucked up experiment during that time period. Like, I need to know what Parappa had to say about this after the story is done. Oh, the way that it was phrased, like, turn on the gas, I was just like, step on the gas. That was incredibly fucked up. And yeah, like, okay, I have read a lot of fucked up things, real things that happened during World War II that were experiments done on real people, and honestly, a lot of them were more fucked up than this. And so that's what makes this story so believable. Because this sort of shit fucking happened. Like, people did, experiments on war criminals. So, like, this is one of those creepypastas that's like, yes, I can, like, it's probably not true, most likely. Not a true story, but it is a believable story. And it's incredibly fucked and well written. And this has honestly, I think, been my favorite of tonight, or today. I'm not used to streaming in the day. Haha, yeah. Very Unit 731. Is that okay? I think that's the thing I'm thinking of. Was that the thing? Okay. This is getting in very fucked up dark territory, but it sure is. Oh yeah. Yeah, Yosef Mengele. That's one of the fucked up guys. Mm-hmm. Yep, that's the human experimentation at Unit 731, yeah. That whole thing was fucked up because they experimented on live people, much like this story, against their consent. Many people died. Most people, probably all of them. I think all of them died at the end. The fucked up thing about Unit 731 that will live with me forever is that I remember reading that America, the US, was like, give us all the information you learned from that. Because they did learn a lot of vital information with all their experiments. Oh! Yeah. Oh! German scientists looking for immortality. Oh yeah, we read that one. You just weren't here. I'm sorry! I'm sorry! No, that one was good too. It was short but sweet. It's fucked up. Fucked up, dude. Shit's fucked up. Whew! Gives me chills. Freaks me out. Ugh. Okay, let's read a short one. This is a short one that I really, really like. This is not recommended by anybody. This is mine that I put in here because it's short. So this one, I actually don't want to read the name of this one because it gives away what it is. So I'm not going to read the name of it. Okay. A man went to a hotel and walked up to the front desk to check in. The woman at the desk gave him his key and told him that on the way to his room, there was a door with no number that was locked and no one was allowed in there. Especially no one should look inside the room, under any circumstances. So he followed the instructions of the woman at the front desk, going straight to his room and going to bed. The next night, his curiosity would not leave him alone about the room with no number on the door. He walked down the hall to the door and tried the handle. Sure enough, it was locked. He bent down and looked through the wide keyhole. Cold air passed through it, chilling his eye. What he saw was a hotel bedroom, like his, and in the corner was a woman whose skin was completely white. White woman jump scare. She was leaning her head against the wall, facing away from the door. He stared in confusion for a while. He almost knocked on the door out of curiosity, but decided not to. Thanks, receptionist. Weird, but understandable. I won't look. This disinclination saved his life. He crept away from the door and walked back to his room. The next day, he returned to the door and looked through the wide keyhole. This time, all he saw was redness. He couldn't make anything out besides a distinct red color, unmoving. Perhaps the inhabitants of the room knew he was spying the night before and had blocked the keyhole with something red. At this point, He decided to consult the woman at the front desk for more information. She sighed and said, "Did you look through the keyhole?" The man told her that he had, and she said, "Well, I might as well tell you the story. A long time ago, a man murdered his wife in that room, and her ghost haunts it. But these people were not ordinary. They were white all over, except for their eyes, which were red." That's it. I love that story. It's good. It's good. Yes. Yes. Drumming my desk. Okay, what? That one's 5 minutes. We got a lot of short ones. This one's also short. Ooh, we got a lot of short ones. Ooh. Ooh. Yeah, so he looked through the keyhole and saw the ghost woman, and then next time he looked, she was looking back at him. I haven't listened to Magnus Archives. I should. I think I'd like it. Candle Cove. We all love Candle Cove. I put this on here myself, but then Spike also recommended it, so we're gonna say it was Spike's recommendation. I like this, the way this one is presented, because I feel like the presentation of a creepypasta actually, like, uplifts it a lot. Oh no, Matt's gone. Bye, Matt. I binged Magnus Archives a few months back. It was alright. You definitely like it. Hell yeah. I liked Night Vale. I fell off of Night Vale, after one of the live shows. I think it's still going. It might still be going. Okay, so the way that Candle Cove is presented is, it's like a local forum. Net Nostalgia forum. And, it's like a bunch of different forum posts, right? And so, I'm gonna read these forum posts. This is from SkyShale033. The subject is Candle Cove, local kids show. Does anyone remember this kids show? It was called Candle Cove, and I must have been 6 or 7. I never found reference to it anywhere, so I think it was on a local station around 1971 or 72. I lived in Ironton at the time. I don't remember which station, but I do remember it was on at a weird time, like 4 p.m. This is from Mike Painter 65. It seems really familiar to me. I grew up outside of Ashland and was 9 years old in 72. Candle Cove, was it about pirates? I remember a pirate marionette at the mouth of a cave talking to a little girl. Skyshale responds, "Yes, okay, I'm not crazy. I remember Pirate Percy. I was always kind of scared of him. He looked like he was built from parts of other dolls, real low budget. His head was an old porcelain baby doll. Looks like an antique that didn't belong on the body. I don't remember what station this was. I don't think it was WTSF, though." Jaren replies, "Sorry to resurrect this old thread, but I know exactly what show you mean, Skyshale. I think Candle Cove ran for only a couple months in 71, not 72. I was 12 and I watched it a few times with my brother. It was Channel 58, whatever station that was. My mom would let me switch to it after the news. Let me see what I remember. It took place in Candle Cove, and it was about a little girl who imagined herself to be friends with pirates. The pirate ship was called the Laughingstock, and Pirate Percy wasn't a very good pirate because he got scared too easily. And there was calliope music constantly playing. Don't remember the girl's name. Janice or Jade or something? I think it was Janice. Music is getting a little loud. There we go. So Skyshill responds, "Thank you, Jaren. Memories flooded back when you mentioned the Laughingstock in Channel 58. I remember the bow of the ship was a wooden smiling face with the lower jaw submerged. It looked like it was swallowing the sea, and it had that awful Ed Wynn voice and laugh. I especially remember how jarring it was when they switched from the wooden/plastic model to the foam puppet version of the head that talked. This is Mike Painter. Haha, I remember now too. Do you remember this part, Skyshill? You have to go inside. Skyshill. Ugh, Mike, I got a chill reading that. Yes, I remember. That's what the ship always told Percy when there was a spooky place he had to go in, like a cave or a dark room where the treasure was. And the camera would push in on Laughingstock's face with each pause. You have to go inside! With his two eyes askew and that flopping foam jaw and the fishing line that opened and closed it. Ugh. It just looks so cheap and awful. You guys remember the villain? He had a face that was just a handlebar mustache above really tall, narrow teeth. This sounds like I'm imagining like Lazy Town, but pirates. Yar har fiddle-dee-dee. Alright, Kevin Hart responds. I honestly thought the villain was Pirate Percy. I was about 5 when the show was on. Nightmare fuel. Jaren. That wasn't the villain, the puppet with the mustache. That was the villain's sidekick, Horace Horrible. He had a monocle too, but it was on top of the mustache. I used to think that meant he had only one eye. But yeah, the villain was another marionette, the Skin Taker. I can't believe what they let us watch back then. Kevin Hart. Jesus H. Christ. The Skin Taker. What kind of kids show were we watching? I seriously could not look at the screen when the Skin Taker showed up. He just descended out of nowhere on his strings. Just a dirty skeleton wearing that brown top hat and cape, and his glass eyes that were too big for his skull. Christ almighty. Skyshill. Wasn't his top hat cloak all sewn up crazily? Was that supposed to be children's skin? Mike. Yeah, I think so. Remember his mouth didn't open and close. His jaw just slid back and forth. I remember the little girl said, "Why does your mouth move like that?" And the Skin Taker didn't look at the girl, but at the camera and said, "To grind your skin!" Skyshill. I'm so relieved that other people remember this terrible show. I used to have this awful memory, a bad dream I had where the opening jingle ended, the show faded in from black, and all the characters were there, but the camera was just cutting to each of their faces, and they were just screaming, and the puppets and marionettes were flailing spastically, and just all screaming and screaming. The girl was just moaning and crying like she had been through hours of this. I woke up many times from that nightmare. I used to wet the bed when I had it. Also, I apologize because I know spastic is considered that's like a slur in Europe, but in America it is not. So I just want to clarify if you didn't know that. Because there's probably more Europeans in chat due to the time of day. Okay. Kevin responded, I don't think that was a dream. I remember that. I remember that was an episode. Skyshill responds, No, not possible. There was no plot or anything. I mean, literally just standing in place, crying and screaming for the whole show. Kevin responds, Maybe I'm manufacturing the memory because you said that, but I swear to God, I remembered seeing what you described. They just screamed. Jaren, Oh God, yes. The little girl, Janice, I remember seeing her shake, and the Skin Taker screaming through his gnashing teeth, his jaw careening so wildly I thought it would come off its wire hinges. I turned it off, and it was the last time I watched. I ran to tell my brother, and we didn't have the courage to turn it back on. Mike. I visited my mom today at the nursing home. I asked her about when I was little in the early 70s, when I was 8 or 9, and if she remembered a kids show, Candle Cove. She said she was surprised I could remember that, and I asked why. And she said, because I used to think it was so strange that you said, I'm gonna go watch Candle Cove now, Mom. And then you would tune the TV to static and just watch dead air for 30 minutes. You had a big imagination with your little pirate show. I fucking love Candle Cove. No, it's still good. It's still good. Okay, so I could be misremembering. Maybe I'm having my own Mandela effect Candle Cove moment. Didn't the Sci-Fi Channel actually do a Candle Cove thing? Like, I swear it was the Sci-Fi Channel where interspersed between commercials, like, at one point, they would have really quick cuts of, like, what it was believed to be Candle Cove. They did! Okay, I'm not crazy. Alright, cool. Candle Cove was one of my favorites for a reason. Yeah, no, this was definitely one of my favorites. It's still one of my favorites. It fucking rules. The presentation of it being forum posts, the payoff is so good. Of them being like remembering a fucked up episode and then being like, oh, so I visited my mom and she said I was just watching Static. So, okay, so did they actually do like a full episode or something, or like a short on Sci-Fi? Oh my god, Channel Zero, each season was based on a— what the fuck? Okay, we gotta have a watch party with that. Based on a creepypasta. Hello? Oh my god. That's cool as fuck. Maybe it's shit, but I you know what? A lot of these creepypastas, a lot of them have been good today, so, you know. We gotta watch that in the Discord. Damn. No, Candle Cove rules still. It holds up. Right. Okay, it's only been 2.5 hours. Both of these are short, so let's go through them. It's not as good as it could have been. Still could be fun. Here's another one, recommended by Proxy, I believe. I live alone, but there's a woman sitting on my couch. Estimated reading time, 5 minutes. Yeah, this is pretty short. Okay. I live alone in a 1-bedroom apartment. So can anyone tell me why there was a woman sitting on my couch, watching TV? I was in my room getting some work done when I had gotten a bit hungry and planned on walking to the kitchen to get some leftover Chinese food. My kitchen sits next to the living room, and as soon as I stepped into the dark hallway, I noticed the television was on. I know I never stopped to watch anything on it, so this was an immediate red flag. Thinking that maybe it was updating or maybe Alexa had switched it on by mistake. I'm sorry if I activated anybody's Alexa. I walked over to turn it off, but my heart dropped when I saw a woman with oily black hair sitting on my couch watching it. For a moment, I was confused because I knew there was no one here when I walked in. I knew all the doors and windows were locked. From the time I came home, I hadn't heard anyone break in, so how the hell could a person be sitting there? After the confusion passed, I wanted to walk forward and ask what the hell she was doing in my house, but something screamed that that would be a grave mistake. If anyone has ever experienced sleep paralysis, that's what the feeling was like. I told my body to move, but the primal part of my brain refused vehemently. Vehemently? I always forget how to say that one. I slowly crept back inside my room and just waited in silence. This is a fairly modern creepypasta. Wow. At this point, I know you're already screaming at me to call the cops, and trust me, I wanted to. Nothing at that moment would have made me feel better than to have 1 or 2 armed police officers there to deal with her so that I didn't have to, but if I'm being honest, I didn't want her to hear me talking. If she had walked to my room, I'd be trapped, and at that moment I felt like that'd be a nightmare. After waiting for half an hour in silence, I mustered up enough courage to at least observe and see what she was up to. Forcing myself up, I cracked the door open just enough to get a clear view of the hallway and look at where she was sitting. If I didn't know any better, I'd have thought she had legitimately just stumbled into the wrong house and was relaxing like any normal person. But something was off. It almost looked as if she was slumped forward on the couch. Part of me wanted to believe she was sleeping, But what I saw next shattered all hope of that. She reached a disgustingly long arm towards the door and unlocked it from her seated position with ease. I haven't measured yet, but eyeballing the distance from my couch to the door, it had to be at least 8 or 9 feet away on the low end. That, okay, I'm gonna point that out. That's a really good bit of writing to use her action of unlocking a door from a couch in a living room to immediately make you envision this long, gross arm. Yeah. That's really good. She slowly stood up and made a clumsy effort to walk towards it. Her body was horrifying. She was tall. Oh, the horror. Uncomfortably so. If I had to guess, I'd say she was about 9 feet, with arms that touched the ground and dragged behind her. Her hands each sported roughly 11 fingers that had to each be around a foot in length. That's a lot of fingers. From what I remember, she was completely naked. Oh, hell yeah! With sagging skin. Oh, hell no! That hung loosely off her extremely thin body. She was also paler than I thought possible. Her skin appeared almost gray, and if I didn't know any better, I'd think her skin belonged to that of someone recently deceased. Oh no, you're late. It's okay. We still have plenty that we can read. She didn't move gracefully. She dragged her massive body towards the door and raised her long arm towards the doorknob to pull it open. It almost looked like she had to break her own bones to complete the movement. But as she pulled the door open and moved a spindly leg outside, she stopped. My blood ran cold as she slowly turned her head towards me, and I caught a glimpse of her face. I wanted to scream when I didn't see any eyes, just a puffy exterior with sagging eye holes, and a mouth with long, rubbery lips that drooped past her shoulders in a permanent look of anguish. I didn't know if she saw me or if she even had the capability to. All I remember was her turning her head back outside and leaving my home. She shut the door behind her, and I was left in silence with my heart pumping faster than it ever did. I rushed outside with my phone to see if I could catch her on video, and I wish I hadn't. I wish I had just closed the door and gone to sleep or gotten drunk and tried to pass the whole thing off as a fucked up nightmare, but what I saw was... I know it was real. I looked outside in the cold dark and I saw her hanging off the side of the building like a fucking spider. The window of the person above me was open. She was fishing inside, and after a few seconds of searching, she pulled out their son. Her hand was completely wrapped around the head, and I couldn't tell if they were alive or dead by the time she slinked off into the darkness with the young boy. I had caught it all on video. I must have watched that video 100 times before deleting it. Damn it. I mean, what the fuck was I supposed to do with it? Do you think the police would believe it's a real piece of evidence? Even if they did, what the hell, what could they do? And as a parent, are you better off thinking that your kid ran away or knowing that it was taken by an entity that we can't even begin to comprehend? At least with the former, you have hope that maybe you'll see them again. I just couldn't bring myself to bring up such a crazy notion to a grieving family. Or worse, have them believe me and go looking for something that no one should ever try to find. I knew as long as I kept it, I'd be tempted to watch it, and every time I watched it, I'd be driven further into madness. There have been more stories of kids missing as of late. I've even heard some rumors about pets going missing from people's homes. Surprisingly enough, I even heard a story about a full-grown man disappearing, getting bigger. He was never seen again, with absolutely no trace of where he went or why he left. The only thing suggesting any kind of outside force was an open window, and a few strands of hair police couldn't match any DNA to. This has taken quite a toll on my life. I tried to find info on this thing, but as far as I know, there's nothing. If anyone out there has had a similar experience, please tell your story or share images of a thing you have of them. I just want to know I'm not crazy. I'm quitting my job tomorrow and staying with my brother on the other side of the country. There's no fucking way I'm sticking around that thing more than I need to. I don't plan on being here much longer. But last night, I heard a knocking at my door. I know the next time I see it, I won't be telling a story afterward. But I also know I'm burning this whole damn apartment down with me. No. So, did you, like, make this post before you did that? Or did you leave a note? What do you think, chat? Do you believe it? Is it a believable story? Reminds me of that early Magnus Archives episode, one with the guy with all the notebooks who gets swapped. Whoa. What's the narrator's problem? Are they just ableist? I don't know, 9-foot woman. Spindly arms. Kinda scary. Yeah, they seem like a dick. A little bit. I want to know what the Spider Woman was watching. I was kind of envisioning, like, the other mother from Coraline, like what she looks like near the end of the movie. 9-foot woman. Wow. Okay. There's actually a few games I want to play. But we have one more. Before I do that. I was gonna read Ben Drowned, but that's too long. Maybe we could save that for another time, because I do like doing these creepypasta streams. So the Rake is more so a creepy image, so I'm gonna share the image, and I'm gonna keep it up as I read, oh, creepy guy. Creepy guy. Or, no. The image. Here we go. I like this image, it's pretty good. I started the stream by reading Who Was Phone. Okay, so the creepypasta, the way it's presented is a bunch of different notes from different time periods, which is an interesting presentation for this. This is the Rake, also recommended by Rory. Okay. So, first note. Hi, Dip. Welcome in. So the first note is a suicide note from 1964. And it reads, "As I prepare to take my life, I feel it necessary to assuage," I think that's how you say that, "any guilt or pain I have introduced through this act. It is not the fault of anyone other than him. For once I awoke and felt his presence, and once I awoke and saw his form. Once again I awoke and heard his voice, and looked into his eyes. I cannot sleep without fear of what I might next awake to experience. I cannot ever wake. Goodbye." Found in the same wooden box were 2 empty envelopes addressed to William and Rose, and 1 loose personal letter with no envelope. "Dearest Linny, I have prayed for you. He spoke your name." Oh, like Dracula with newspaper. Sorta. It's like various sorts of, yeah, sorts of notes. Okay. This one's a journal entry translated from Spanish in 1880. "I've experienced the greatest terror. I have experienced the greatest terror. I have experienced the greatest terror. I see his eyes when I close mine. They are hollow, black. They saw me and pierced me. His wet hand. I will not sleep. His voice, unintelligible text." A mariner's log in 1691. "He came to me in my sleep. From the foot of my bed I felt a sensation. He took everything. We must return to England. We shall not return here again at the request of the Rake." From a witness in 2006. 3 years ago, I had just returned from a trip from Niagara Falls with my family for the 4th of July. Oh, topical. We were all very exhausted after a long day of driving, so my husband and I put the kids right to bed and called it a night. At about 4 a.m., I woke up thinking my husband had gotten up to use the restroom. I used the moment to steal back the sheets, only to wake him in the process. I apologized and told him I thought he got out of bed. When he turned to face me, he gasped and pulled his feet up from the end of the bed so quickly his knee almost knocked me out of the bed. He then grabbed me and said nothing. After adjusting to the dark for a half second, I was able to see what caused the strange reaction. At the foot of the bed, sitting and facing away from us, there was what appeared to be a naked man or a large hairless dog of some sort. Its body's position was disturbing and unnatural, as if it had been hit by a car or something. For some reason, I was not instantly frightened by it, but more concerned as to its condition. At this point, I was somewhat under the assumption that we were supposed to help him. My husband was peering over his arm and knee tucked into the fetal position, occasionally glancing at me before returning to the creature. In a flurry of motion, the creature scrambled around the side of the bed and then crawled quickly in a flailing sort of motion right along the bed until it was less than a foot from my husband's face. The creature was completely silent for about 30 seconds, or probably closer to 5. It just seemed like a while. Just looking at my husband, the creature then placed its hand on his knee and ran into the hallway, leading to the kids' room. I screamed and ran for the light switch, planning to stop him before he hurt my children. When I got to the hallway, the light from the bedroom was enough to see it crouching and hunched over about 20 feet away. He turned around and looked directly at me, covered in blood. I flipped the switch on the wall and saw my daughter, Clara. The creature ran down the stairs while my husband and I rushed to help our daughter. She was very badly injured and spoke only once more in her short life. She said, "He is the Rake." My husband drove his car into a lake that night while rushing our daughter to the hospital. He did not survive. Being a small town, news got around pretty quickly. The police were helpful at first, and the local newspaper took a lot of interest as well. However, the story was never published, that the local television news never followed up either. For several months, my son Justin and I stayed in a hotel near my parents' house. After we decided to return home, I began looking for answers myself. I eventually located a man in the next town over who had a similar story. We got in contact and began talking about our experiences. He knew of 2 other people in New York who had seen the creature we now referred to as the Rake. It took the 4 of us about 2 solid years of hunting on the internet and writing letters to come up with a small collection of what we believe to be accounts of the Rake. None of them gave any details, history, or follow-up. One journal had an entry involving the creature in its first 3 pages and never mentioned it again. A ship's log explained nothing of the encounter, saying only that they were told to leave by the Rake. That was the last entry in the log. There were, however, many instances where the creature's visit was one of a series of visits with the same person. Multiple people also mentioned being spoken to, my daughter included. This led us to wonder if the Rake had visited any of us before our last encounter. I set up a digital recorder near my bed and left it running all night. Every night for 2 weeks, I would tediously scan through the sounds of me rolling around in my bed each day when I woke up. By the end of the 2nd week, I was quite used to the occasional sound of sleep while blurring through the recording at 8 times the normal speed. It still took almost an hour every day. I mean, if you sleep 8 hours and you're doing 8 times the speed, it's going to take an hour, yes. On the first day of the 3rd week, I thought I heard something different. What I found was a shrill voice. It was the Rake. I can't listen to it long enough to even begin to transcribe it. I haven't let anyone listen to it yet. All I know is that I've heard it before, and I now believe that it spoke when it was sitting in front of my husband. I don't remember hearing anything at the time, but for some reason, the voice on the recorder immediately brings me back to that moment. The thoughts that must have gone through my daughter's head make me very upset. I've not seen the Rake since he ruined my life, but I know that he has been in my room while I slept. I know in fear that one night I'll wake up to see him staring at me. That's the Rake. That seems very much like a story that was written based off that picture. I'm pretty sure that's what the deal is. Let's see. Staple creepypasta monster. Interesting. That one's cute. That one's cute. That feels like a offending term to call a creepypasta or horror story. It reminds me of the horror YouTube video by Local 58 TV called "You Are on the Fastest Route." I love that video. I love that video. Grade school camping trip energy. It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's well written. It's alright. It's a good campfire story. It's a little goofy, yeah. Not quite as goofy as like Jeff the Killer. Speaking of goofy, I have a creepypasta I would like to read. And then I would like to, I would at least like to start reading it, and then once they start playing the game, I would like to play the game myself. I think that'd be fun. How about you guys? But before we do that, let's take a break. So, this creepypasta, I want to get a date. 2010. That checks out. This was posted in 2010. This is called Lost Silver. It is incredibly popular. If you haven't already read it, then that's crazy to me. I really liked this one. I don't think I actually read the creepypasta. I just watched a playthrough of the game because it's a very short creepypasta game. So, I'm gonna start reading it, and then once it gets to them like starting up the game, I'm actually going to start up the game because I have a game version. You see, I am a simple college student, living alone in an apartment. I was very enthusiastic about the release of Pokemon Heart Gold Soul Silver here in the States. Guess what? That's accurate. I actually played Soul Silver in 2010, at the end of 2010. I've purposefully locked myself out of all media and the internet aside for school purposes. That means no 4chan, no V, which was the Pokemon board. Was V something else? I don't know. I think that was the Pokemon board on 4chan. No Bulbapedia, etc. As I was busy with the school year and being poor at the time, I wasn't able to buy Soul Silver on its launch date. After my school year ended, I ordered Soul Silver on Amazon. However, it would take a week for it to arrive. I decided that during that time, I would replay my Crystal version on my Game Boy Color. Are we sharing 4chan horror stories? Yeah, that's what creepypasta is, essentially. I mean, that's where it started. Hi, Doppels. V was video games. VP was Pokemon. Okay, that's why I hesitated a moment, because I was like, hold on, I think there's another letter. I'm not! That's where copypasta comes from. The term copypasta came from 4chan. 4chan's dead forever. Is it still dead forever? I don't remember. As I was busy with the school year and being poor at the time, I wasn't able to buy Soul Silver. Okay, yeah, I ordered Soul Silver on Amazon. Okay, I already read that paragraph. I'm sorry, I got distracted! However, I realized that long ago, my mom threw it away because I told her the save went dead. Crystal version. And I was very upset about it then. She also threw away my silver version. Aw. So all I have is my Game Boy Color. As such, I set out to GameStop and bought a used silver version, as it's the only Pokemon game left that they have for the GBC. $10. Fairly cheap. That's insanely cheap! Even for back then! I went home and started it up for a nostalgia trip. Nostalgia trip. I was still thinking about cheap. However, that's where things started getting bizarre. Thanks for the follow, welcome. And most likely the reason why you read this. Oh, the game is starting up. We should play it. Should I leave the book? No. I shouldn't leave the book. Yeah. No! Fine, I'll be bankied. Let me find it! Damn it. There we go. Thank you for the subscription through Prime! Okay, I found it. Get that running. That down there. There we go. Oh my god, it is the smallest thing I've ever— it's so loud! Oh! Hold on. It's incredibly loud. You guys can't hear it yet, and it's not being captured, but I need to capture it before it begins, because that's essential. Potentially the audio will reset, when I restart the game. So, be prepared. Your ears may be destroyed. Let's see. Does that capture? Okay. That being captured? Or I probably should have tried to capture this before the stream. It's not capturing. Oh, it's so fucking small, dude. What is happening here? Oh. Hold up. No, that's wrong. Oh, I'm so amused. Alright. Where the fuck are you? Is that it? Is that gonna work? Is it gonna move? Yes. Okay. Okay, that works. I'm gonna reopen it. And hopefully it'll capture right away. And hopefully it won't be really loud, but be prepared just in case. Okay, so the story is we were anticipating Soul Silver, and so we got a $10 Soul or original silver. And that's where we are in the story right now. Oh, it's pretty loud. That's fine. We'll be fine. And it gets frozen on the Game Freak symbol for a minute. Okay. So it doesn't even give you new game or continue or have a title screen. It just starts up like this, and we're in the Bellsprout Tower, and it's leaning. Oops. I closed the game on accident because I pressed escape to try to fucking open my menu. Wow! What a great game. No, this'll work. We'll make this work. We'll make this work, chat. Jesus. It's warping like that because I have to make it bigger because it's so small. Okay, I will not press escape. Will not press escape. Not gonna do it. Jesus. Okay. Alright. Tab. And enter. Okay, that's it. Alright, let's check out our stuff. We have unknown. L. E. A V E. Nice. Hurry. Alright, we should check out our other stuff. Pack. We have nothing. Polka gear. So, leave hurry. So, okay, I never played the original Silver. I only played Soul Silver. With the radio, this is not normal, is it? My name is ... Okay, that doesn't happen. I figured as much. I have a lot of money. Oh no, the horrors. I'm rich. And I've played for 999. I'm maxed out. I have all the badges. 18713. Save? The game cannot be saved now. Oh. Option? Okay, there's nothing scary about the options. Okay. Oh! Dark. Flash. Ah. So that's the unknown on the radio, right? But backwards? Oh no, it's getting dark again. Whoa, wait. Let's check and see if the unknowns say anything different. No, they still say leave. Okay. It's getting dark. Oh. Can hurry, use flash again? Apparently not. What does this say? Turn back now. No. Okay. Yes. Oh no! Hurry has fainted. It's just the weird dark cave from Lisa the Painful with the creeper you can farm for XP and mags. Oh my god. Game is so pretty loud. It's better. What is this music from? Huh? Heh! He died. Oh. He died. Oh no, I'm in a graveyard. Oh no. That's still not normal. Oh no, I have no limbs. And I'm crying realistic blood. Uh-oh. Oh. Hyper realistic. Oh no. Oblongs. That blood isn't very realistic. I think you might be wrong. Yeah, you're right. Look, his eyes. 2 pixels of red. It's very realistic. Can I talk to you? No, I can't because I'm a ghost, probably. He got so sad. He got so sad that he just died. He got so sad about his Cyndaquil. Wait. I have a Celebi now. Dying. It's like half a syllable that only knows parish song. Oh no. That red? Oh! I didn't even interact with him. It just threw me into the battle. Oh, what's the battle? Oh no! Pikachu's sad. Oh! Oh! Sorry for noises. Oh! Alright, well all I can do is Parish Song. Why didn't you send out any of your unknown? Come on. Okay, Pikachu just used Curse. Okay, Parish Song, we'll both faint in 3 turns. Yeah, the Pikachu really looks like the sad Twitch emoji. Frustration? Why are you so frustrated, Pikachu? You're so sad. Why are you level 255? Pain Split? Celebi, you didn't know Pain Split. What? Hello? Battler shared pain. Oh, Celebi can't escape now. Boo women. Womp. I love women. It was a typo. But it failed. I'm not even controlling Celebi anymore. Uh-oh. Parish Song. Destiny Bond, but it failed. Pikachu has... oh, it faded away. Oh no! His head disappeared. I'm a ghost. No. More. Aw. How sad. Okay, so what am I getting from what is this storytelling right now? What are we being told? So why does okay. So I had a Cyndaquil that was almost dead that knew Flash. And its name was Hurry. And it said leave Hurry. And what his Pokemon was fucked up and evil and the Pokemon died. It's like, I don't know, usually with these like video game creepypastas, you can at least like try to like put together some sort of story, I guess. Maybe? Goodbye forever. Oh no, Nightmare! No, see, Ben Drowned is actually good. I don't know, actually. I haven't, like, experienced Ben Drowned since I was the same age I was when I checked this out. Nightmare, 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 nightmare! Oh, I'm just gone. I like Ben Drowned. I'm dead. Oh no! Oh no, I mean, we're not taking any of these seriously. There were a few good ones, though. Rest in peace! Okay. Well, I guess we can, go back to, Banky mode. I guess we could go back to Banky mode. Bye! Okay. Where is my book? I need to bring my book back. Pay no attention. Where's my book? There it is. Yay, book. All right. So let's pick up where that left off. Okay. So we played the game. Let's see where this leaves off after we play the game. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do do do. Okay. So rest in peace. That happened, right? Maybe I didn't do something. That room was a big grave, surrounded by other graves. This music is crazy right now. Gold has already been dead. He died, presumably a few years after he defeated Red. He was a young trainer who, despite his efforts in collecting so many badges and attempts at becoming a Pokemon master, was still unable to avoid the inevitable fate of death, and his efforts were eventually forgotten by the next generation. Distracted by button 1? What are you Where? What does that mean? I was unable to escape from that text no matter what I pressed. I tried resetting the game, and the same thing happened, at which I then finally decided to give up on that horrible nightmare. I don't know, it wasn't too bad. After that experience, I will never look at the gimmick unknown the same way again. They say that only the first generation have folk tales and legends, but the second generation have shown me how unpleasant the truth can be. I eventually enjoyed Soul Silver immensely, but I still can't unthink what that rigged game has told me. I don't know, it's really lame. It's really fucking lame. I don't know why I enjoyed Lost Silver so much. Oh, button 1 was one of the things in the list while you were looking for book. Oh, hold on. Yeah, that's one of my buttons. Can I put one of them on? Oh, you won't see it because of my book. Awesome. Okay, well that was Lost Silver. I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 10. It kinda sucks. Put the button on the book. I don't wanna. Okay, so this creepypasta was recommended by Hadley, which I'd never heard of this one. James. This one was posted a year after Lost Silver. It's so corny, but like it came out in an era of a deluge of Pokemon creepypastas and was actually one of the better ones. It sure was, you were right. What was there? There was also Pokemon Black. There was also, I think, Pokemon Blue was one. Or it was something to do with Pokemon Blue. A Pokemon Blue cartridge that was fucked up and weird. And they did it in like an ARG, like, Marble Hornet style, where it was a series of videos. Creepy Black was 100% the best one of that era. Credit to whoever made that for actually making it an accompanying game. I don't know if... Did they make the accompanying game? I don't know if they did. I'm not sure, actually. I do like that there is a game. Whoever made the game. Yeah, no, I do like when creepypastas inspire a game to be made, either by, like, the actual person who wrote the creepypasta, or just, like, it's like fan art. Okay. This one is called Easter Egg, Snow on Mount Silver. I think the story came first, and someone made a faithful fan game. Yeah, no, it's pretty good. It's very faithful to, like, exactly what they described in the creepypasta. So this is Snow on Mount Silver, which came out a year after Soul Silver. So my brother and I, we kind of grew up on Pokemon. Around here, a lot of kids did. Wow, where did you grow up? I think everywhere, everyone grew up on Pokemon. It worked out perfectly for us, too. Every time a new gen came out, one of us would get one version, one of us would get the other, and since our mom liked to spoil us, we both got the third one. This is going to sound at first like a bittersweet story about two siblings who grow up with a couple of games that eventually take them down two different roads. Well, a little more than that. The years rolled by, we kept collecting. Game Boys got old, we replaced them. Cartridges finally gave out, we picked up new copies. Damn, y'all got a lot of money. But we started down two completely different roads before Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald came out. See, around then, my brother got a Game Shark. We had heard all the hacks and cheats you could do with them, even if we were kind of late to the party, and they sounded awfully cool. Our first guinea pig cartridge was my brother's old blue version. We just dicked around with it a little bit, nothing major, but whatever we did fucked up the cartridge up. After just a couple of code entries, it glitched out completely and became unplayable. Naturally, we were upset at first. My brother mourned the loss of his hours of work, and I was sympathetic. I told him, it's okay. We can replace it, I guess. Stupid shark was a waste of money. But here our paths finally differed. After seeing the mess it had turned blue version into, I had become opposed to the idea of hacking or cheating any of my games. I hate this little aside. What can I say? I'm a chick. I feel feelings for the little pixel creatures. Alright. At least with that Game Shark. But my brother had taken his game's destruction as a personal challenge or something. Just girl things. I don't think he ever played a game after that which wasn't hacked somehow. Yeah, we played a shit ton of Pokemon, man, but for us, there really wasn't much else to do. We lived way out in the country without many other kids, and the farmers didn't want us on their property, so we played Pokemon out on the lawn just about all day, every day. It was pretty awesome to us, at least. We lost the Game Shark when our rooms got moved around. A new addition was built onto our house, and it disappeared in the mess of shit that got stuffed into the closet. Oh, hearing that, I'd immediately quit giving this a shot. No, I'm giving them a shot. Can't help being a woman, I guess. I have feelings for the little guys in the video game because I'm a girl. Only girls have feelings for little creatures. Someone made a short film adaptation of this story and put it on YouTube. That's kind of cool. As you breast boobily. This story did not age well. It's fine so far. Just that little aside was goofy. Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald arrived, and after playing through them once we were both in agreement that they were definitely lacking in comparison to the last gen. I disagree. We both tried another honest playthrough, and though we managed to finish, it left us both yearning for some good old-fashioned nostalgia. Where were our old gold, silver, and crystal cartridges, though? It took us probably a month to dig through the boxes we'd been too lazy to open up before, but we finally found one full of a shitload of all our old electronics. My old purple Game Boy Color still worked. His red one could no longer hold batteries in place. Both our GBAs were fine, though, along with our snake lights and link cables. That one with the nifty little connector in the middle that had always wrapped up oh so carefully to avoid fraying the wires and condemning it to the trash like our last cable. This makes the story more believable. You're actually using facts about the tech back then. That makes me go, ah, you have experience with this. We both grabbed up everything we could. It was so nice to have Yellow, which had been my first and most cherished game of any series, not just Pokemon, and Red and Gold back. We went through the motions of checking our old files, taking in all the old memories, and eventually we figured the Gen 1 stuff was just too nostalgic to get rid of. I restarted Gold, he restarted Silver. Immediately, he snatched the Game Shark out of the box and slipped it into the back of the GBA. I just shook my head at him. I remember what I said to him. That thing will kill your game, you know. He never had liked me preaching to him about abusing pixels. I shut my mouth after that, but it had put him off from playing with me. I guess it was just one time too many or something. I ought to know to keep my thoughts to myself, really. My sister told me to stop abusing the pixels in my game. I don't want to play with her anymore. It was a couple of days later that it happened. I do have to I do like the change of pace that most creepypastas, the protagonist is a guy. This is not like, she made it explicitly clear, I'm a chick, I have feelings, which was annoying. But I'm glad we have a creepypasta with a girl. Hooray! Girl power. It was a couple days later that it happened. I was out on the porch, Game Boy in hand, just about to go into the Elite Four when I realized I needed a little help. My team was ill-balanced thanks to my playing through for leisure, and at the time I was no great trainer that could pull off gimmick runs. I knew that my brother had been 2 badges ahead of me when we'd last checked with one another, so I was hoping maybe he'd let me borrow a Pokemon or two just for this run-through. So now, the thing is that I'd spent the last 24 hours at a friend's place. I had literally come home, dumped my bag in my room, and crept out into the sun with my GBA to play. I had no idea what he'd been up to. For all I knew, he was done with the game and into a new one, which I figured was all the better for me since he wouldn't need those Pokemon and I'd start a better chance of nicking a few. I'd stand a better chance. So I got up and went into the house. When I was crossing the living room, I noticed all of his Pokemon games lying on the floor. Some of the cartridges had been mangled, like they'd been hacked at with something sharp. Even his old blue version, long ago dead and too sentimental to throw away, was lying with the plastic cut ragged, split about almost halfway up one side, completely unusable anymore, even if it would have worked. I was a little scared. This had to have happened this morning. Otherwise our mom would have seen and they wouldn't be lying on the carpet. Tucking my GBA into my pocket, I crept over to his room and found the door unlocked. Somehow that was even more concerning. That woman would go on to make Undertale. Yep. You right. I walked in and found my brother sitting on the edge of his bed. His GBA was in pieces on the floor at his feet, smashed to bits. Next to him on the bed were a hammer and our mother's gardening scissors. His face was paler than I'd ever seen it, even whiter than the time we'd gone corning. Corning? Oh, that is white. And the old guy up the street, legally blind and a raving nutcase, had come and chased us into the trees with a shotgun. It was now I also noticed the Game Shark on the ground and a silver cartridge corner poking from under his bed. Somehow, they had been spared the wrath of the hammer. Sorry. Are you okay? I asked. I remember the chills that ran through me. He was my little brother. Seeing him like this was horrifying. It was awful. I remember him rasping, and the way his voice rattled made my knees weak. Oh God, white everything. And then black! I remember running over and hugging him, and I remember his limp arm fell and brushed the Game Boy in my pocket and his sudden scream right in my ear, making me jump and bite my tongue by accident. He ripped the handheld from my pocket and hurled it at the far wall. I cried out at the dent the plastic system made there, running over to collect it. The screen had gone dark, and though I feared the worst when I flicked the switch, it powered up normally. I waited there in the corner, trying to pretend the GBA mattered enough not to go and run for our mom. The volume was on. The Pokemon theme started up and he screamed again, picking up the hammer. This time I screamed too and ran from the room with my GBA clutched to my chest like a shield. He ended up in the psych ward of the hospital for 2 days. Wow, you can just admit people to the psych ward immediately like that for screaming. When we went to visit him, I left my GBA at home. No one could figure out what had set off his strange manic behavior. There was some talk that I didn't understand at the time about some kind of disorder he may or may not have had, but even though Mom and I had collected and brought in all the cut-up cartridges to be looked at, Mom's idea, not mine, no one had even thought to tie it back to the game. Maybe that was my fault. Yeah, like, okay, this is a little bit inaccurate, at least to my own, like, experience with this sort of, deal. It's not that easy to submit or admit somebody into a psych ward. It's not that easy. People get admitted to psych wards if they are suicidal or, threatening suicide. most of the time. Most of the time, that is how you get admitted to a psych ward, because people, they don't want you to do that. So, unless he was actually like suicidal, like I don't think that would have happened. Personally, I don't know. Maybe he would have. I don't know. Where was I? I hadn't said a word about what had happened when he had accidentally touched my Game Boy, or the blind white terror he had been thrown into when the music had started. On my last visit to the hospital before school on the second day, I was left alone in the room with him while Mom had some private talk with the doctor about precautions to take should this happen again. I sat in a chair next to the bed where he was staring at the ceiling, but then suddenly he sat up, making me flinch. "Hey," he told me. "Angie, go in my room when you get home." I didn't understand what he meant, and then I remembered the things we hadn't packed up and brought in, the game and the hacking tool under his bed. Get rid of them. I don't ever want to play with them ever again. His voice was so weary and desperate. He sounded like an old man on his deathbed. My poor, damaged little brother. How could I refuse? "Promise you'll get rid of them." Okay, I promise. Everything about these siblings' interactions doesn't feel... It feels very much like the writer of this has never had a sibling. I don't know, just the way that they talk to each other and talk about each other, or how she talks about him. That doesn't feel like a sibling relationship to me. I was carted off to school late, and through the whole day I only had my promise to him in my head. I didn't know it at the time, but this would be the last time that I could ever play the big sister role and help him out. Oh no, he's gonna die! I just had to get home and get rid of that game, but as the day went on, a sick curiosity started to go through my own head. What could possibly have happened to that game that scared him so badly? I was scared myself, but I just had to know. I had to. I got home and went right into his room, bent on uncovering whatever horror was waiting for me. Mom had since vacuumed the room, and the cartridge and the Game Shark were no longer visible. I got down and crawled half under the bed, feeling timid, but holding on to the promise I made as my badge of courage. Under the bed, there was enough dust to make me cough, enough old Legos and various other toys that I couldn't set my elbow down without it landing on something. But I finally saw both objects. They'd been shoved to the corner on top of a notebook that looked too new to have been down here long. Unthinking, I grabbed the corner of the paper and dragged everything out with me, still wheezing from the dust, allergies and all. I remember when this one dude I was in charge of in the Navy tried getting admitted to the psych ward, and so me and my chief worked through the whole issue to get it okayed and such, and when he gets there, decides he didn't want to do it anymore. He figured it was going to be like a vacation. No. They looked so innocent, simple toys, and a simple spiral-bound bunch of papers. When I set Silver Version and the Game Shark on the floor, I took a closer look at the notebook. On it were Silver Version and the Game Shark on the floor. I took a closer look at... On it were scrawled at least 20 different cheat codes, but one had been scratched out with a Sharpie over where it had initially been drawn in with a pen. This was confusing. He had really tried to erase it out. The marker had been pressed to the paper so hard that the ink soaked through most of the pages behind it, almost 2/3 of the way to the cardstock back cover. Jesus. But pen has a way of sticking around. I picked up the notebook and tilted it backward in the light, and the reflective surface of the Sharpie revealed the indents that had been left where he'd written. The code was an unintelligible mess of letters and numbers, but the words next to it confused me. Easter egg. Snow on Mount Silver. I remembered what he had said when I'd found him. He had been raving about white, and then black. Could he mean snow? Even though it was only August and the temperature was still climbing to 90 degrees every day, a chill ran down my spine. Did I dare? I picked everything up and brought it in my room, and laid it out on the carpet in front of me with my own GBA next to it. For a long time, I just stared down at it, and the longer I looked, the more maniacal Lugia's face became on the sticker, like some kind of twisted grin, Like it was daring me to find out what had happened to my brother. I was a 14-year-old kid. Did I really want to tempt fate and risk ending up like him? I glared down at Lugia for a while longer. I had to see. I slid gold out of my GBA and stuck silver in its place. It took me almost 15 minutes to compose myself and turn it on. Time to do that. Let me find it. It's gonna take me a minute. Where are you? There you are. Game. Okay, this one's gonna kill the bitrate. Played a little bit of it, or as much as I could, and it's probably going to be loud at some point, maybe. Do we do window capture? Probably. Because it tells me right off the bat that it's gonna be loud. Gamer time. I also cannot change the size of this window. Ah! Alright, that's not too bad. Wow. It's not so bad. Oh no, it skipped a little bit. Ah! Pikachu, why would you do that? What is this, Legend of Zelda? Okay. Okay, I think it's normal. There you go. Oops, wrong button. Blake! Maxed out hours. Pokedex 251. That's all the Pokemon at this point. All the badges, too. Wow. That's weird, because that's my brother. Oh, yeah, bitrate killer. There it is. There it is. There it is. Oh, God. Goodbye, bitrate. Ooh. Alright, what do we have in here? Okay, actually, what does our dead Typhlosion know? Oh. Normal. That's pretty normal, too. That's normal. That's normal. Typhlosion seems fine, yeah. Recover? Okay, yeah, they're all pretty normal, even the Typhlosion. Ooh! Ooh, I'm sorry about the bitrate. I'm cold! Oh! Meganium has died! Oh. Oh no! Stats haven't changed at all. That's a really cool sprite, though. This is also fan-made. This is not made by the CreepyPasta writer. The bitrate. Oh god. Pidgeot has died. Why? Can't use that here. Okay. Oh. They all have 6 health? Do they? They do! 6666! Oh no! Oh, I have stuff. Escape rope. You can't go back. No Pokemon can revive. Oh. Do I have other things? No. Dire hit. Use critical hit ratio. You can't use this here. Oh. It would have no effect. Oh. That's cool. That's normal. But there's nobody in my contacts at all. Hmm. Oh no, I look dead. The game cannot be saved. Okay. So, just like Lost Silver. Oh, please! Oh, please, no! Oh, the bitrate! Lugia, no! Lugia is dead. I'm guessing starting a new save doesn't do anything. Oh, we could go back and try that after I finish whatever the fuck this is. Lugia's dead. Yeah, this is what hacking games does. This is what Nintendo wants you to think. Feraligatr. Oh no, his intestines. Oh no. And there's an invisible wall. Tyranitar, no! These Pokemon are presumably freezing to death, then why do they look mutilated? I don't know. Okay, I don't know the specifics of, like, frostbite, but don't you get so cold that you can have, like, maybe you can get so cold your limbs can fall off? I don't know. Maybe that's what's happening. Ice is harsh. Okay, finally, no bitrate killer. I wish I was cold right now. It's 90 degrees today. The dreaded Voltorb up ahead. The dreaded Voltorb. Oh, that's Celebi. Yeah, my AC works. It's just I don't turn it on during streams because you can hear it. It's loud. But yeah, no, I put some duct tape along the edges of it so it's not just, you know, blowing cold air into the outside world. Celebi used Perish Song. Okay, so just like Lost Silver. Whoa, 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 whoa. Oh god, bitrate, no! Oh no! We're back. Oh. Oh no, he's dead. Okay. Oh my god. It's so cold. Man, I wish it was. Mother! It feels so cold. Oh, I love CreepyPasta. I can't go on. Mother. It's the same. Where do we go? Don't ever hack your games, kids, or your protagonists will die and all your Pokemon of frostbite, and your bitrate will get killed. Because of the static effect. Red. You look dead too. Oh no, we're both dead. Oh, no. Alright. Oh no, Venusaur, you're dead. Don't die, Typhlosion. Uh-oh. Flamethrower. Struggle. Oh. Oh, you're level 0. That's possible? Okay. Weekend at Bernie's ass battle. Oh, I can't use anything else. Typhlosion's the only one that's alive. Quick attack. Brother! I think quick attack would attack first. Come on. Alright. Unrealistic. Unrealistic game. You only have enough HP left to mutually assure destruction. Just like the last one. Wow, I'm level 100 in my speed stat. No, the quick attack is like guaranteed to hit first. Unless the other enemy, or like, unless the enemy, your opponent, whoa, uses quick attack and their speed stat is faster. Ow. Oh no! The poor babies in the video game! Red had an Espeon? I don't remember Red having an Espeon. Wait, no, that would make sense because, green, or blue, whatever you want to call him, has an Umbreon. I'm a fake Pokemon fan. Peek. I love him. Aw, look at Pikachu. Oh, my little friend. Wow. Oh no, he also used Pain Split. Oh no, we're all dead. We're all dead. Oh, he's smiling. He's so happy. Okay, potentially, this could end with a really bad sound. So just, I mean, that Pikachu sound was pretty bad, but... Oh no, you're dead! It's over. Oh. Okay, it didn't. I played this before stream to check it out and make sure it wasn't a virus. It's supposed to end with a bad sound, but it did not, alas. It did not. We're going Banky mode again. And I'm gonna bring out my, book. I should have just did, a hotkey for this, but I didn't think that far ahead. Because I'm a fool. Wow. There we go. Ba-da-ba. Alright, let's read the rest of this. Yes. Okay, so, played the game, yada yada, yada yada. We saw everything in the game. Let me look, Destiny Bond, there we go. Used Destiny Bond. A horrible, hideous screeching started to issue from my GBA. The screech went... The screen went white, and it shrieked at me, and I threw it to the floor and pressed my back against the bed. The horrible noise continued for several long moments when the screen stayed white. Then went black. Then there was silence. It took me a long few moments, but I eventually stood up. I took the Game Shark. I took the notebook. I took that fucking possessed game. I picked them all up and carried them to the garbage can we had already set out for morning pickup at the end of our long, winding driveway, and I threw them in. When I got back to the house, I don't know what made me do it, but I picked up Yellow Version and inserted it into my Game Boy. I think it was part of me determined to make sure I hadn't somehow been tainted as well. The music started up. The game played. I turned to my Pikachu, and hit A. Its smiling face greeted me with an ear twitch and a big, pixelated smile. A pleasant, normal smile. I turned my game off and spent the next hour crying on the floor. My brother and I never did play Pokemon together again. He gave it up for good. I stuck to replaying my comforting, unhacked games. That winter, the snow fell thick. That's it. Pulling out the chart on speed, priority, moves, and going, none of it makes sense. Struggle doesn't work like this. Yeah. What do you guys think? I thought it would be interesting to play both Lost Silver and this one, Snow on Mount Silver. Because this one clearly is ripping off Lost Silver. I think I said Soul Silver. I lied. Lost Silver. Remember, kids, stick to old games and don't hack them, or the getter will get you. Yeah. They're both very silly. But this one, I feel like this one is executed a little better. Execute, like the Pokemon. It is still very corny. It's just kind of, they added more. I don't know, I think Lost Silver is simpler and gets the job done. This is a bit flowery. It's a time capsule for sure. Yeah. Yeah. This one was charming. They're both pretty charming. This one had a little bit more charm to it than me. Or to me. But yeah, you can play that game on it's on itch. It's free. You can just download it. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. It kills your bitrate, so I was probably a mess of like pixels by the whole game. But I wanted to read Ben Drowned, but I've been going for 4 hours, so I think it's about time I wrap things up. Because I have to check on Case's cats. So I'm gonna get out of here. But I enjoyed doing another CreepyPasta stream. Definitely a lot more good ones this time around. I don't know how many good ones are out there anymore. I don't know how many CreepyPastas are out there that aren't just the same thing. We may have to scrape the bottom of the barrel for any other creepypasta streams like this. Maybe we can have reading other things, maybe other creepy stories, maybe something like that. I don't know. We'll have to figure it out. I'm gonna go check on those cats. Make sure they're good. So next stream is gonna be Thursday. I'm gonna be playing more Look Outside on easy mode. It's definitely a lot easier. I can save anytime I want, which is a godsend, honestly. We're gonna figure out where to send you guys before taking off completely. Oh! Maybe Miss Jackie hasn't been going that long this time. Maybe Miss Jackie... Oh my god, her new model! Oh my god, she's so cute! Yeah, let's go to Miss Jackie. So Scorch is playing Night Rain. You know what? I know Scorch more than Miss Jackie. How long has Scorch been going? Because Scorch will go forever with Night Rain. And I don't want to encourage him to go forever more. Let me see. He's been going a while. You know what? I might go to Miss Jackie. I've deliberated. He's probably wrapping up soon, because he's playing with Dusk, and Dusk, it's like midnight there, so... So Miss Jackie is playing Majora's Mask, I believe. Corrupting them! Oh, that's perfect! That's perfect! So I didn't get to do Ben Drowned. Someday I would like to. That'd be great. But... she's playing the, game Corrupted. You know what? I would do my normal raid phrase, but we should do a new one. Here.